What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot, Rico. It's Rico and Bot on a Friday. Rico, it wasn't good enough. Are we redoing it?
You know me. I need more energy. Keep it up. Keep it up.
What is up, Buffalo Fanatics?
There it is.
Z-Bot, Rico, finally back together again on a Friday night. So good to see all of you. Rico, so good to see you, my friend. You got your Canadian brand Tim Hortons in hand, ready to rock. Plenty to talk about this evening, but before we dive into all of it, great to see you, brother. It's been a little bit.
It has been a little bit. I'm not going to front. Immediately when I'm talking to you, even though we were in the green room just chatting, I just can't. I still have to get used to this whole new backdrop that you have going. I assume this will be like this for just a little bit until you decide to spruce it up. Or you've given us such a treat with what was back there. We've been spoiled. And maybe you don't do anything. Maybe this is the new simple bot in his new residence. I don't know. Talk to me, man. Let me know.
So as you can see, this is not the Z-Bot studios that you're used to. And you might have been wondering, where the hell has Bot been the last couple of weeks? Well, it has been a crazy last couple of weeks. And it gets even crazier. I'll have some more news to share with you in a couple of weeks in terms of stuff that's been going on with me. But for what's going on right now, as you can see, the background is different. That is because I've been in the process of moving the last couple of weeks. And I don't know if anybody in here has moved recently, but it is not a one-day affair. It is a multi-day affair. So we had moved from our place in Stamford, Connecticut. We're currently staying with Caroline's parents right now in the meantime. So that's why behind me you see the beautiful shade of greenish blue, not the Buffalo Bills-filled wall that you're used to. So that's why you're seeing the new background. That's kind of why I've been MIA for the last couple of weeks. Moving has taken forever. We had to get the U-Haul. I don't know if you've ever driven a U-Haul, Rico, or anybody in here, but we got the big boy, and I had to drive it, the 20-incher, and I'm white knuckle in this thing, holding on for dear life, trying to get this thing from point A to point B. Thank God I got it where it needed to go to without flipping the thing over. So I don't know if you've moved any time at all recently, but I'll tell you what, I hate it. It absolutely blows.
It is definitely not fun to move, especially if you're doing it by yourself. So at the time that I was moving from province to province, which is never fun, the wife was pregnant, so she couldn't lift anything. There was no lifting for her. There was no anything. So it was like a lot of me doing all the heavy lifting. So I thought I would get ahead of it because we had a moving company coming through. So I was like, you know what? I'll box all the things that need to be boxed, things that don't need to be boxed. Let me save myself the trouble. I'll try to sell a lot of the things I need to sell that I don't want to take. One rule that I have with Jenna is, if we're moving into a new place, we try not to take the old things with us. We're moving into a new place, new furniture, new this, new that. Let's not try to bring old baggage, right? She's a pack rat, meaning she likes to hold onto sentimental things that she had years ago. I'm like, I'm done with it. Let's move on, right? You break up with it and you're done with it. You don't move back to go in. So we had that. So it was a lot of me doing all the lifting. And moving companies, there's a lot of shady people. Moving companies are the shadiest of all people. You got to watch for those guys because they'll run you dry if you don't know what you're doing or if you don't know the game and hustle. But I'm glad you moved in. You seem settled. Are you settled?
Settled. Luckily for us, we had two fellas who helped us move in. Those same two fellas helped us move out. Couldn't have done it without them. They were a lifesaver. Like you said, moving companies are definitely a solid choice, but you got to make the right choice because they'll gouge you. If you don't know what you're doing and if you don't know what's a fair price, I mean, there was one company that was quoting us like $250 an hour. And this was after the fact. This is after we already had our guys locked in, and I could not believe it. Pause, Teddy. Come on now, Teddy. But thank God we had that locked in place because I understand why they charge as much as they do because it's no joke. It's no fun doing that type of job. But luckily we had a couple of friends help us out. So that was great. Settled in for sure. Took a little bit to get everything from point A to point B, like I mentioned. I'm a lot like Jenna, though. I'm more of like, man, you know, like for instance, I'm scrolling through the junk drawer. Everybody's got the junk drawer, right, in the house, or you just throw the crap in. And so it's funny when you're going through the junk drawer, when you're moving, you have to decide what in the junk drawer is actually junk and what's coming with you, right?
Facts.
And so I stumble upon our like the whole folder that we got before our wedding for the wedding planning, and I'm like, I kind of want to hold on to this. And it's like something like that where I think Caroline would probably just toss it, but I'm like, you know what? 40 years from now, when I go through the junk drawer again and I stumble on this, I'm going to be happy I kept it so I can look back and be like, oh, I remember we had this food there and we did this thing there. So I'm much like that. Luckily for us, so we were going to get a storage unit. Yep. But in the process of doing that, my brother-in-law was like, hey, man, you know, my basement's unfinished. We got a ton of room down there. He's like, put all the stuff down there. So thank God. Everyone in here knows that I have far more stuff than I need in terms of just random BS. 90% of that is in my brother-in-law's basement right now. So we moved into here with the bare essentials. And that kind of feels nice, to be honest. I haven't done that in a long time where I'm just down to basically the clothes, the computer. It's kind of nice. It's kind of refreshing. I'm not going to lie.
Until you start buying more stuff. And then when you get to when you finally move again, you're like, dude, we have way too much things to get rid of.
Yeah.
So, but a minimalistic life is a good life. I always told my wife, man, I'm like, when I first met her, when we were like dating, I said, yo, the simplicity for me is always best. You try to overdo it and just chill out, man. Just let things naturally be the way they are. And a couple things here and there, you're good. As long as you have your studio, you got your lady, you got support from the fam upstairs.
I got the cats.
Yep. Why not, baby? Oh yeah, you got the cats.
It's great.
The cats, and I like it.
You know what's really fun about this right now too? This process of where we're at currently in life is I have 5 nieces and nephews that are all 5 years or younger, and they're all at the house all the time. That's really cool because, you know, when we lived 45 minutes away, yeah, we saw them often, but I see them daily now. And I just think that's awesome because you only get those younger years for so long. And then we're going to blink. And next thing you know, I mean, my little nephew is going to be in high school or whatever. I saw it with my own cousins, you know, because I was the oldest cousin. My youngest cousin, I'm 10 years older than. And we were just home a couple of weeks ago, and she's about to be a senior in high school. And you're like, what the hell? So this is one thing I'm really...
I know. You're talking like an old man right now. What are you? Because there's 30 yet, man. Relax.
I'm telling you, that's another thing. I turned 28 during the last couple of weeks here. And I don't know, man. Little stuff like that, it does feel like I'm turning old or I'm becoming old when it comes to certain stuff like this. But I appreciate it more, I think, which is kind of nice.
It's called maturity, my friend. You're becoming mature. You got a new spot right now, so you're in somebody else's space, so that's gonna be a little different for you. So you have to move a little different. Even the way you're talking to me right now, you're talking a little different. You're talking very subdued. So we need to turn your ass up and get you cracking.
We cranking up because, Rico, it is officially draft month. If you haven't noticed, we have transferred into April. We do have NFL content coming down the pipeline. It's felt like it's been too long here. We had the free agency period. That gap between free agency and the draft is always a long one, but finally we're getting some draft stuff coming around the corner. That will be fun to talk about. Of course, we'll talk about that this evening. Got a lot to talk about with you. Before we get into all of it, C-Dot, by the way, is letting us know he used to work for a moving company. C-Dot says, I used to work for a moving company, and we used to charge an arm and a leg, moving people in that Texas heat. Oh, man, C-Dot said he dropped a 50 spot, 50 pounds down, moving in that Texas heat. See, I believe it. You got to charge for that, no question.
I got beef with C-Dot. I'll tell you why I got beef with C-Dot. C-Dot was part of the problem with these shady ass moving companies. Let me tell you something. I got to tell a quick story, and I will get onto it. So I'm moving, right? And I'm on the phone with this lady for like good 3 weeks to set this up. And I'm like, with the parameters, how are we going to do this? I don't think I got so much weight. I'm getting rid of a lot of things. What truck are you sending me? All that stuff. So these movers get here. I'm like, this is what me and the lady spoke about. He's like, totally different. This is we're a third-party company. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to load you up. If you don't want to bring things on, that's fine. So by the time we load them up, right? He goes, how do you want to do this? I was like, what do you mean do what? Do what? How do you want to do this? I was like, you take my shit and go.
Right.
He goes, do you want to do it by weight or do you want to do flat fee?
Come on.
I was like, all right, bro. Like, what? I don't know what this.
They were weighing the boxes?
So their weight, it goes by weight because every place they got to go, you got to scale. You got to hit a scale.
Come on.
So they got to make sure that if it's overweight from what you guys promised, it could cost you, or we could do flat rate. I was like, you have to go through the scales no matter what. So how are you going to play me? Anyway, long story short, I had to decide, all right, so what's going to cost me cheaper? He's like, so I had to guess, is it more weight or it's like Russian roulette, weight or go by flat fee? I was like, oh, so I went flat fee. If I can negotiate and bring a couple hundred down, I can. Anyway, long story short, it cost me $6,700 to move from province to province. It's gross.
God,
$6,700. I was like, God.
Listen, Caroline's in the chat. Caroline, we dodged a colossal bullet. That is crazy. 6,700. Oh my God.
But it was like from province to province. It's a tough one. So from Gatineau all the way to Nova Scotia, it's a good deal. But golly, man. So
now, did they unload it all too and move it in?
That's a whole nother ball game. So my father-in-law is a retired RCMP. So RCMP, I don't know if you guys will know that. It's like, I don't know what's the difference between RCMP. For those I know, the equivalent of RCMP to the states, I don't know, state trooper or I don't know if it's state trooper or not. Above the police officers, state trooper.
Yeah,
so he's state trooper. These guys come up here and they say, oh, by the way, we're here to drop your stuff off. So my wife's like pregnant. She's like, yeah, drop it off. I'll tell you which room they have to go through. He goes, oh, we don't do stairs.
Oh my God.
She's like, pardon me. She's like, yeah, it's not part of the contract. We don't do stairs. So then she's like, well, you're going to have to do stairs. And they don't know Jenna. Jenna will let you know right then and there. So I could let her do that. So like, yeah, we're not doing it. So by the way, if you're not agreeing to this, we're leaving with your stuff. My father-in-law was just in the house, is chilling. So he comes in. He's like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to unload the stuff. You're going to put it where it needs to be. Because if you don't, I know people around here. I'll get you guys locked up, this, that, and the third. So these boys are like, where'd you guys want it? You guys want it upstairs? Yeah. Quit talking to that BS, man. Do the job.
So the 6,700 did not include the proper drop-off at all.
They tried. So they tried.
Crazy.
And they're lucky because I wasn't in town because I would have said, yo, you're doing it or hands are going to be thrown. So let's make this thing happen. Anyways, good thing my father-in-law was there. But anyway.
Thank God. My God. Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, listen, it's one thing to charge that price, but it feels like you got to get your money's worth. The idea of packing it up, driving it one place, and not doing anything with it's crazy to me for that amount of money. What year was this, too? Because you got to factor in
3 years ago.
Okay, so I didn't know if it was any longer because I was going to say 6,700 10 years ago is,
it was just a few years ago, man. They probably would have jacked me up even more. But we here now. But I mean, there's other people that are in moving situations.
Yeah.
Right. Selling things and selling houses and so on and so forth. I don't know if it's because, I mean, you're usually the segue king. I think this is a great segue.
Well, that is a great segue that you are putting on the plate for me. I'm not currently selling a house, but somebody in the Buffalo area is, apparently. Somebody that we've been talking about for quite some time the last couple of months. And this, of course, adds to the intrigue behind what we've been talking about surrounding James Cook. This past week, it was reported, I believe, first by Nick Veronica, that the house in Buffalo owned by James Cook was listed for sale. Now, of course, it is a crazy housing market right now. So when you're seeing housing go up and be sold and whatever, oftentimes you don't look into it, especially when it's a football player's house, whatever. People sell property all the time. But when you combine the idea of James Cook being the only player going into this upcoming season with an extension on the line, not receiving the extension, now putting his home up for sale after it's been talked about that they couldn't reach an agreement this offseason. Brandon Beane looks like he's heading into the draft without really worrying about the idea of getting James Cook under contract. James Cook has been very vocal about the amount of money that he wants. It's been pretty evident up until this point that amount of money is not going to be delivered to him this time this year. It is awfully interesting to see that the home of James Cook has been listed. So, Rico, you factor everything in here because, like I mentioned, on a standalone basis, if the house gets listed, it doesn't really matter. But when you combine all these things together, does it add an extra element to you of, wait a minute, is there more than meets the eye here? Or is this just a coincidence that he's so happened to be selling his house in the middle of a period in which he's kind of uncertain right now what the future holds for him in Buffalo?
First of all, I love Laura. Laura's like, Cook is he's doing too much, right? All right, here's the deal with James Cook. In a way, I don't blame James Cook for what he's doing. I don't blame him because you got to look at it from his perspective, and I'm going to, in this case, look at it from his perspective. I've made it known to you And publicly, whether I'm not saying it with my own mouth, these eyeballs of all these deals that you're giving to all my colleagues, I'm looking because I want mine too. And the fact that you've made it public that you're not going to make any more deals, you're tapped out. Maybe James and I can talk about it before this, after next season, because we can't rule it out that we're not going to do anything. We might try to work something out with him next season, but as of right now, we're focused on the draft. So as a player, what do? You're like, yo, if you don't want me to be around, you're clearly, this is writing on the wall. I ain't no dummy. And I got to treat this as a business the same way you're treating it as business. I got to put the house up for sale. Sorry, I got to do it. If you're making it publicly known that you're not going to do anything with me this year, so I'm publicly making it known that I'm selling my crib. I'm selling it. Now, I've listed it. Whether it's a tactic or not, it's out there. It's public. Now, what I don't like is I don't want to be a Cancer. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be all out there like that. I ain't trying to be a Cancer, bruh. I ain't trying to, you know what I mean, be live like that. Fam, eyeball emojis made you live. You know, everybody in Buffalo's nosy as F. You know what I mean? They see an eyeball emoji. They see you do something on Instagram live reel. They see everything. You can't get away. This is the thing with small towns. Everyone is in your business. Everyone's in your business, especially in Buffalo. You can't even sneeze. They'll tell you how many decibels that sneeze was because we just know everything about this place. So him putting it up for sale, and on top of all these emojis, everybody's now watching you tenfold. So now that you put that house up for sale, so what you trying to say? You trying to move to another neighborhood? I'll tell you right now, when you list your house, especially with all this stuff that's going on, you're not looking to move from Orchard Park to East Buffalo. Sorry, don't think that's going to happen. You know, I don't know what's another nice place in Buffalo. I know Orchard Park is nice, but if it's not Orchard Park, where's like the nice place that people buy houses? Maybe I'm tripping. I don't know.
I think there's probably a nice spot in every town, I would imagine.
I would assume so. But most of the players usually live around one another. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess the better way to put it, Rico, is you don't usually list your house unless you have a plan B in terms of where you're going once that house sells. Is probably the best way to put it.
Voila.
Right?
Voila. So you sell your house. That means you ain't trying to be in this neighborhood no more. You ain't trying to be in this city anymore. And you've made it clear that whatever happens, happens. So when he is shipped, or if he's shipped, I should say if, not when, he's ready to go. He doesn't have anything tied down and he can just take off. Now, when you see he puts his house up for sale, is it more of I'm just being cautious and I'm just doing what I got to do? Or he might love a place in East Aurora and say, you know what, I want to move a little bit too close. I don't know where East Aurora is. Or he might want to go to Amherst. I don't know if Amherst is nice. Point is, that's a statement you've made. James Cook has made a statement. You made it loud and clear. And there's nobody that said he did to refute it and say, nah, bro, that's a rumor. I didn't sell my house. It would have came out by now.
Right.
The realtor, who the heck? The realtor would have definitely said something, and nobody said a peep. So guess what? It's real. It's happening. And away we go. So,
well, you knew it was his house based on the listings, and the listings showed up and you saw the visuals of the inside of the home. There were game balls everywhere. There were framed jerseys on the wall. Absolutely. So as you mentioned, if it was a hoax, it would certainly be a very elaborate one at that. But I think we can determine by now that, of course, it isn't. Committed to the game, I would say James Cook is currently right now, because if you don't end up getting a new contract, and as we know, as of right now, that seems highly unlikely this offseason. In fact, I would almost be willing to put it in pen at this point that it's not going to happen, that James Cook's not going to get that extension. But if you list the house, I guess you have one of two ways to look at it here. Either A, you do end up getting paid by the Buffalo Bills and you turn the house that I just read apparently is listed for $710,000. Apparently you list your $710,000 house, you get paid, and Rico, you go buy your $2 million house in East Aurora, right? So that's one option. You go and upgrade once you get paid by the Buffalo Bills. Or, as you just mentioned, the potential of going somewhere else, whether that's via a trade or whether that's this time next year where the Bills decide they do not want to exercise their right to pay James Cook going into the fifth year and he ends up buying a place somewhere else. I do know, though, if it does sell in the interim period here, I don't know what the plan is. All I do know is that James Cook is very committed to being very vocal about his current situation and where he stands on the matter, because he wasted absolutely no time going into this offseason. We were barely even into the week after the Super Bowl, it felt like. I mean, obviously, time as it stands right now, everything's moving so fast, it all jumbles together. But it really felt like from the get-go, as soon as the season was over, it was vocal that James Cook wanted top-tier money at the running back position. And as we have watched this offseason unfold, we have seen nearly every player up for an extension get one. Yep. Of course, most recently in Christian Benford. So that was one of the last to go. He gets his money. And now all that remains is James Cook. And it's funny, and it's also ironic that the one guy, the only guy of the bunch that was vocal about getting the extension is the only guy right now that has not got one. But I will say to those who are sitting there continuously saying James Cook is arguably our second best offensive player, James Cook should get paid. We've been on record a million times saying that we would love nothing more than to keep James Cook. And we also think that he is a major, major impact to this Buffalo Bills team. No more than last year. It was incredible what he put out on display.
Okay.
But the biggest difference, though, Rico, just to round it out, the biggest difference is that all of those other guys, every single guy that got paid by Brandon Beane this offseason, not a single one of them came close to getting market-setting money or market-tying money or just a hair under market money. James Cook wants market money or more. And that's the biggest difference here. And I think we can all agree that if Greg Rousseau wanted Myles Garrett money, if, Terrell Bernard or Christian Benford, if these guys were demanding market resetting money, I don't think we would have seen them re-sign with the Buffalo Bills as quickly as they did this offseason. That's where I tip my cap to Brandon Beane more than anything. He has had an extraordinary offseason. Brandon Beane has here an extraordinary offseason. He is a killer draft away, in my opinion, from having one of his most complete and top-notch off seasons to date here. The difference between Cook and all those other guys, though, for those who are sitting around saying, how is Cook the only guy out of that batch of players going into this year not guaranteed a new deal after this year? How is he the only guy to have not gotten one yet? To me, the easy answer is all the rest of those guys took team-friendly money that also was, in my opinion, fair money to them as well. James Cook wants that top-of-the-market money. And as you can see, Brandon Beane, who literally said, quote, that he said, quote, I would say his reps and him put it out there that we did talk. So I'm not sharing anything new. It didn't lead to anything as far as closing in on a deal. So we moved on to the guys that we're on the same page with. At this point, we're on to the draft. I don't see us doing deals anytime soon.
Let me put you on the spot.
Yeah.
You're James Cook.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing all your colleagues get paid. And whether they're taking less of a deal than what they think they're worth or not, you're seeing everybody get paid. You're also seeing what you've contributed to the team the last 2 years. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I'm a back-to-back Pro Bowl player. Why isn't he trying to have a chat with me, and why isn't he respecting that I want this money? So if your brand, you're James Cook, how are you supposed to take this? Would you say this is the right move? Would you have dealt with this differently? But you're frustrated. So what are you supposed to do here?
Here's what I would have done differently. And of course, I'm speaking based on the perception that the conversations were not had prior to putting it out there that James Cook wanted to get paid. I don't know, because it happened so fast this offseason. I don't know if there were internal talks that were shot down immediately, and then James Cook comes out and says that he wants the money that he does. Because the way that it was handled this offseason, I said from the beginning, I thought it was 1 year premature. I thought coming out demanding top of the market money going into your fourth year was a year too early. If you go out again next year, you have another 1,000-yard year, you have another double-digit touchdown season, you're going into your fifth year, right? Then I'm all about pounding the table, put the house up for sale, demand what you think you're worth, whatever. It did feel like it was a year too early for that type of money. It wasn't a year too early to get paid, however, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think that if James Cook fell in the same boat as the rest of the other guys that got offseason extensions here, I think we'd be talking about a whole different scenario here. And I'd have to believe that if James Cook and Brandon Beane sat down and there was like a $9 or $10 million a year deal on the table, we might not be talking about anything that we're talking about here right now. And you have to also look at it from the Bills' perspective too. If they're going to be willing to put that amount of money on the line, which would be top tier, top of that position money, which look around the Bills roster outside of Josh Allen, who he himself didn't even take more than Dak Prescott. Do the Bills have anybody on their team right now that they're paying top of the line money to? No. So this is an out of the ordinary situation for Buffalo, and it's really an out of the ordinary situation for most teams doing this with a running back. It feels a little off right now because of what Saquon Barkley just did and what Derrick Henry just did, and we've seen this resurgence with the running back position. But you also have to understand from Brandon Beane's perspective, and this is where I get it, the idea of going into this last year while you still have him on contract.
Yep.
And giving that amount of money up this year, that's where I find it to be tough. This time next year, the ball is going to be in Brandon Beane's court. Because if James Cook goes out this upcoming season, Rico, and he balls, well, if James Cook is moved off of by Brandon Beane and he goes to another team and explodes, and obviously I can't imagine we see a repeat of what Saquon Barkley did leaving New York and then going to Philadelphia. That was insane. But if you do see James Cook leave Buffalo, go to another team, and just have an unbelievable season, go nuts, I don't care what the amount of money on the table was or what James Cook wanted, not going to look that great on Buffalo, right? So Brandon Beane's going to be in the tough corner next year, I would imagine. This year, though, when you had all those other guys to take care of, they made deals that were team-friendly, but also ones that they felt were fair to them. You have to understand why Brandon Beane prioritized making those moves before paying James Cook top-of-the-line money going into his fourth season here.
And this is why I find it tough. And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to follow up with this question. And it's a tough one. I don't want to, I got to put it out there so the point is made across. Do you consider is James Cook the villain in this position, or is he justified on asking what he's asking for? And let me explain by what I mean by the villain. The villain meaning, you have 1 year left on your contract. You see everybody taking less to be with the team. Even the franchise quarterback could have maxed out, and he was like, "Nah, bro, what's another $5 million to me every year? Nah, that's not good. Leave it for the team to do what they need to do." Khalil took less, Benford took less, Bernard took less, Rousseau took less. Everyone that looked at those guys' contracts, they realized, bro, how did Beane do this and how did Beane do that? But yet, James Cook's the only one that's saying, "Nah, bro, I'm standing on business. That's going to be 15 mil." So when you see that, you can understand that most people might look at him as the villain. Man, shut your ass up and take what they're supposed to give you. Or is he justified? Listen, I played one of the toughest positions in the game as running back. We get bruised up, hit up all the time. I'm going into my last year of my deal. If I blow my knee, there goes my career. I'm not ever going
100%.
to have an opportunity to gain 15, 14 mil. You guys will lowball me to a prove-it deal of $8 million. And then if I never come back to the shape I'm in, there goes my shot. So is he justified for looking at it as a business the same way the team is? Or it's like, nah, bro, you saw every last one of these guys take less. You should have did the same if you're really about this team. Now you're dead to me. Some people are looking at it that way. Do you see it that way? What way do you look at it?
See, I don't look at James Cook much differently at all than the way I looked at him this time last year. I don't look at him as a villain. Now, here's where if this scenario came into play and we found this out, maybe I think a little differently. Say, Rico, we come to find out James Cook was offered a $14 million a year deal. And he's doing what he's been doing here because he wants $16 million.
Right.
Yeah, maybe I come on here and say, man, James, come on. This is the team that drafted you. You're going to be making what? $14 million would make you what? The third highest paid running back in the league as it stands right now.
Jonathan Taylor and the good guys, right?
Exactly. You're playing behind one of the league's best offensive line. You're playing alongside one of, if not the best quarterback in the league right now. You are playing on a team that is guaranteed to make the playoffs. You're playing on a team that, I don't want to say guarantee, but man, I really want to win the division. You're playing on a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, and there are an abundance of teams out there right now that would love to have you, but I guarantee you right now, they're not going to have what I just told you that you currently have. And if that was the the situation at hand, Rico, a couple of $1 million, right? Like maybe one or two, and it was coming down to this, then maybe I would go into that territory saying, man, like I can't understand where he's coming from here. Makes no sense to me. And I just don't think it's a good look. You just said it. I have no problem with a player like James Cook wanting to get paid, especially at a position that A, doesn't get paid very often, and B, is a rotational position that gets injured far more often than any other position in this league. It's just the way it goes. I totally get it. And here's what it comes down to me. And this is why I don't understand why people get really mad at James Cook or get really mad at Brandon Beane. It seems to be a lot on either side here.
True.
Here's what it comes down to me, Rico. If this time next year, James Cook has another really good season and say he wants that $15 to $20 million range, and Brandon Beane's not willing to do it, and James Cook's not willing to come off of it, I have no problem with James Cook wanting to go to another team, and I have no problem with Brandon Beane saying, look, we just can't make this move financially, and we're going to have to allow you to go to another team. This business has been built on making very tough decisions that oftentimes you do not want to make in a perfect world. If the Bills had the baseball salary cap that the MLB uses, James Cook would be the franchise running back for the Bills for the foreseeable future, probably until his career ended. But we know that's just simply not the case. So I understand both sides of the argument here. I understand that this position outside of really last year has been rotating constantly throughout the league. I understand that the amount of money being paid to this position has been devalued significantly over time here. I also understand that James Cook has played well enough to want this amount of money. And I also understand that from his perspective, I'd want that amount of money too. And if there was another team willing to give it to me, I would be more inclined to go that direction if that's what I value most. And we've talked about this before, Rico. If there is a scenario where James Cook finds more value in playing behind a better offensive line and playing for a winning team and playing with a great quarterback and having a great system and a great culture and a great organization, then maybe he'd be willing to take a little less. But there's also players out there, and I can't fault them because this is their career. If they want to make top dollar while they can, I can't fault that on the other end either. So to me, I think that might be what it comes down to, and one side's going to have to get. Either they're going to have to move on, or James Cook's going to have to probably be willing to take less than what he thinks he's worth right now.
So you mentioned move on. This is very interesting because this is, I guess, hey, improv Bot and Rico. Are you ready for this one?
Oh yeah, always.
Here we go. So we talked like James is setting the table. Let's be clear with this. He's setting the table. The semantics, some might call it, of doing all the eyeball emojis all over the place when everybody's getting paid. It's noticed. It's been documented. We get it, right? You're looking at everybody. You're watching pockets, and you want your pockets filled. And it's natural. Everybody's watching everybody's pocket. I mean, it's not like these salaries are private. It's public. You see what everybody's getting paid. So he wants some of his. Now you put it public that you listed your house. This public information as well. People know where you live. All of a sudden they see a for sale sign. Had it not been Nick Veronica, whoever the hell broke it, it would have been somebody driving in there and be like, why is James Cook house for sale? Yo, y'all see this? His house is for sale. So it would have got up there either way. So you knew it was going to get out there. So now it's getting back to Brandon Beane. And Brandon Beane did the same very move when Stephon Diggs was doing his semantics out in Minnesota. So when he noticed it, he quickly called Minnesota and says, yo, what y'all trying to do? So now I put you in the same position. He's doing all this. And like my girl Laura said, he's doing too much. All right. And I get it. A team comes calling. What's it going to take for you to part ways with James Cook? Because now it's a real conversation. Some folks were before 2 weeks to 3 weeks from now. They were like, man, stop talking all that bull. Stop talking. Now it's real. And when someone sells their home, it usually means I want to relocate. You don't sell. You're not listing your home just for fun to see what the market is going to be. Yo, you're a millionaire. All right. You can buy anything you want at this point right now, even though you're going to be a multimillionaire going forward. Someone's going to pay you. But I put you on the spot to say, what do you do? Are you open to moving James Cook more specifically before this draft? Right now it might be a little too premature, but if he's unhappy, clearly, and this is not speculation, it's clear he's unhappy because he's not getting paid. So he's not happy. He's unhappy. So as you're Brandon Beane, someone comes calling. Is he absolutely not for sale? or are you listening? And what's it going to take to move on from James Cook?
See, it's very interesting here. Like, we got Ben coming in, right? And he's saying, yeah, but when will he ever get paid, right? Is he just supposed to sacrifice every year, and then the moment he plays bad, they use it against him? Well, here's what I have to say to that, because I understand where Ben's coming from, right? He does. Of course he does. Yep. But at the same time, right, he's only played for 3 years, and he is under contract. I understand wanting the extension. But at the same time, this is where what you're talking about here, this is where I wonder if I'm in the same boat, am I approaching this the same way? Because as much as you think this could be benefiting you in trying to play tug of war to get what you think you're owed from the team, it could also be doing the opposite. And you mentioned the Stephon Diggs situation. And, you know, when Stephon Diggs pulled this on Minnesota and then it was pulled on Buffalo, whether Stephon Diggs was in the right or not, and many could argue he was, you know, you're a player. Oftentimes in our life, your life, Rico, my life, everybody watching, we can pick and choose where we want to work. And we can decide what's best for us, whether that be the financials or where we're located or whatever else. The NFL, it's not that easy, right? It really isn't. You get drafted by a team, that's where you're going. You get traded to a team, that's where you're going. Mm-hmm. So sometimes these guys say, I don't give a damn. I want to go somewhere, and this is what I'm going to make it known as. But you take a risk in doing that. You have to understand that. You have every right to do that. But you also have to realize that not everybody does do that. And when you do that, you put a target on your back. It's just inevitable. It's the way that it goes. Most guys do not approach this situation like this. Now, if you're a guy like Myles Garrett, who approached this situation like this offseason, well, Myles Garrett's a first ballot Hall of Famer and probably the best defensive player in the entire NFL. So it's a little different. If Myles Garrett walks away from the Cleveland Browns, who are the Cleveland Browns outside of a massive mess right now, still trying to figure out what they're going to do with the Deshaun Watson situation, how they're going to replace them, right? Myles Garrett is Cleveland. And this is why I think it's a lot different approaching this situation when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen. We've talked about this with the Indianapolis Colts. If the Indianapolis Colts had Josh Allen, I don't know if they'd be as inclined to pay Jonathan Taylor the amount of money that they did. But because they do not have a quarterback that they can rely on, because they don't have an offense that goes through their quarterback, well, Jonathan Taylor gets paid top of the market money. Now, is Jonathan Taylor one of the better backs in the league? Yes, I totally get that. But you're more inclined to pay that guy because your offense is pretty much dependent on that guy. James Cook was a huge part of this offense last year, no question. But you have to wonder, in the question that you asked me, what do I do if I'm Brandon Beane? Does Brandon Beane sit here and think to himself, do we have the capability with the best quarterback potentially in the league, unarguably a top 3, making $55 million a year? Do we also want to tack on top of that a $15 to $20 million halfback when most teams in the league do not do that? This is what you have to wonder. So it's the reason I brought up Ben's chat is because there's no expectation there might not be an expectation in terms of making James Cook wait. It may just be what the Bills and Brandon Beane are. It may just be, look, at James Cook's been great, but we're never going to pay anybody that amount of money. That could be the type of situation you're looking at here. This is what I wonder. I wonder if it would even matter who it was. Because unless you're Saquon Barkley right now, who I think we're going to look back on this time period at, and we're going to look at him and we're going to look at Derrick Henry as all world type guys, I think unless you have that guaranteed Hall of Fame type guy right now, when you look at who you have at quarterback, and then you look at the other areas you're looking to improve on with the team, I understand Brandon Beane's trepidation here in wanting to spend that type of money on a position that does not typically get that amount of money. Now, in terms of what I would take, I mean, I don't know. Here's how I look at it, Rico, to be honest with you. I don't look at James Cook as a trade pawn right now. I look at James Cook as a guy that I would love to have a great year out of this year. And then I would either love to reach an extension with him next year on a fair ground, or, I mean, I know this is crazy. And I mentioned this to you, and I know you kind of laughed at it a bit. And I mean, I know it would take some stones by Beane to do this, but man, the franchise tag exists for a reason. And if James Cook has a great year this year, and J-Dub's bringing it up, once again, I got to reiterate, this is why I also understand why James Cook's doing what he's doing. It's an unfortunate position to play in the current day and age, because oftentimes when you reach your 6th year in the league at the running back position, most teams aren't going to want to pay you top of the market money. But here's the problem, the way it's currently structured. You're on a 4-year rookie deal, right? And then I can tag you on the 5th year. So without ever giving you an extension, I can keep you as my starting running back for 5 years. And if the Bills were to just say hypothetically next year was this year, if the Bills were to tag James Cook this year, it would be less than $14 million, which of course is less than what he's currently asking. So then you look at it from Bean's position, right? And you're thinking, well, we got 5 years out of him, 5 terrific years. We drafted him. We brought him up in the system. It was terrific. We never had to pay an insane amount of money. This upcoming draft class is being touted as one of the best running back draft classes in a while. I'm looking around the league, and outside of teams that currently have Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry, even right now, as crazy as this is to say, because last year you would have been a fool to say this. How do you think San Francisco feels right now about the amount of money they paid Christian McCaffrey?
Bingo.
And we're talking about a guy last year who was maybe the best player in the sport last year, Christian McCaffrey. It's a tough position, man. It's a tough position. But I will say, to answer your question, I don't know if I look at Cook as a trade partner right now. Like, so say, for instance, someone comes to the table right now and is offering me a third. I mean, I think I'd rather have James Cook for this year with the potential to tag him the year after than I would a 3rd-round pick for his services this year. What do you think about that?
Great. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm going to put you in some scenarios. I'm going to make you pick up your phone, and I'm going to be the said team.
Okay.
And you're going to yay or nay it. All right. Richie's been getting out of your ass, and I'm going to put Richie's.
Is he?
He put something up there that I'm going to let you answer that.
Okay.
So I want James Cook. I see that he's unhappy. I'm a team that is in need of a running back. I am the the Nevada Raiders, the Vegas Raiders. I call, and I'm offering you next year's 2nd for James Cook right now. And we'll swap some late round picks, et cetera, et cetera. Are you taking that deal? Or do you need something this year? Are you taking that
next year? Second?
I'll say 3rd, just to make it a little tougher for you. 3rd round pick next year. I want James Cook.
I would counter by saying, well, just if I'm your friend, right? Say Tom Brady's in the he's in the war room right now for the Raiders.
Right.
I'd say, man, you're not thinking about taking Genty in the draft here. You're thinking about going Cook. You're thinking about going, you're thinking about taking a running back going into his 4th year.
2-back system. I can draft Genty and have these boys, boy. I don't know. I got Geno Smith. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I just signed Geno Smith. My receiver room is lackluster. I might have to go receiver, but if I can trade for James Cook, I can focus on drafting my receiver.
Here's what I find really weird about this. How this whole thing got accelerated awfully quickly, did it not?
It did.
We just ended a year where James Cook was phenomenal for this team.
You're right about that.
Phenomenal. But the idea that going into this final year here, all of a sudden we've talked about this, and I don't want to discredit what James Cook's done, because I'm not trying to do that. He's been terrific. But the reality is, and I feel like James Cook has to also understand this as well. Last year, he had 16 rushing TDs. Yeah, yes, right? 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard years. But last year, he had 16 rushing TDs. What do you have, 20 total TDs?
Yep, 20 total.
Look at the 2 years prior to that, Rico, it was 2 touchdowns on the ground in both seasons. If
Correct.
James Cook had 3,000-yard years and 3 double-digit touchdown seasons, okay, maybe, right? Like, maybe we're talking about this. Yes, he had his best year last year, but I have to keep going back to the idea of where Brandon Beane's coming from in this whole thing. And I think that that's what you got to look at. You had a great year. How often have the best teams in the league, Rico, paid a guy off of their best year when all the other years prior to that were not directly reflective of that? We've seen the Chiefs move off guys, Tyreek Hill being the most recent example. Look how that's panning out. Once again, back in the news, talking about being a potential trade candidate for Miami. We saw the Bills do it with Stephon Diggs. Look how that's worked out. We saw the New England Patriots do it time and time again while Bill Belichick was running things over there. And I'm not saying that James Cook is one of those guys that you easily move off of. I'm just saying, when you're asking for money that is the equivalent of the Saquon Barkleys of the world, right? When you're asking for that type of money, well, I have to look at the comparison between the two. And last year was great, but are we paying for what last year was, or are we paying for the collective effort here? And I think that if Brandon Beane was in a position where he could get James Cook under a contract that felt mutually beneficial on both sides, like all these other contracts have, that Brandon Beane has signed this offseason, then I think that he would absolutely sign up for it. Now, you mentioned a third-round pick. I'll once again say that I don't know if I'm signing up because of how good James Cook was last year and because of how good this offensive line currently is and because of how, I think this team wants to operate going into this season, being that it's already April. I don't know if I'm willing to take a third to move off of James Cook this quickly. At the very least, I want to get another year out of him because, like I said, I want to reiterate this. If James Cook goes out again this year and he's got 1,200 yards and another 20 touchdowns or whatever, then the pressure's on Brandon Beane.
Yeah, but Brandon Beane, if Brandon Beane wanted him, he would have signed it right now saying, you're the back of my future. So what am I going to wait until next year for? Until you're another year worn?
Well, because of what I just mentioned, you got
26 years old.
But once again, what did I just?
James Cook knows the writing's on the wall.
So you think he thinks it's inevitable? James Cook.
Yes, I'm 25. What is he? 25 right now? I'm 25. I play 1 year in. I'll be 26. They're saying, I hate it, but they're saying the new 30 for running backs is like 27, 28. So what you're telling me is you're going to discard me, and some team's going to give. I want my deal now, and if not, trade me. I understand the business. So now I'm going to put pressure on you. But what if KC is the trade partner and they say, I want Cook? And
I wouldn't even. It's so funny. This scenario came up the other day on something I was doing.
Right.
I wouldn't take a 1 from KC. I wouldn't take their first round pick.
Yo.
I wouldn't take KC's next 10 first round picks to send James Cook to KC.
Yo, you're full of shit. You're full of shit.
Somebody asked me the other day if they were talking about a scenario where the Chiefs take Omarion Hampton in the draft this year. And the idea of, like, the scenario was the Bills are offered a trade deal in the first round, kind of like what you're talking about here.
Right.
The Bills were offered a deal where they trade Cook and then they get capital for this draft that they then use their first round pick should he still be available. And they take Omarion Hampton. But the scenario also was if the Bills didn't do that, the Chiefs take him after. And man, did that have my wheels spinning, right? Because I'm like, oh my God, once again, it's another one of those type of situations, right? I get what you're saying. I really do. And this is where it gets really tough for me because I'm torn between really not, and this is what it all comes down to, just to reiterate, my desire to not let go of James Cook. I'm not that easily parting with him over this third round pick. Like, it wouldn't be a no-brainer to me to get an offer and be like, okay, he's gone. That's how much I want him here. I also go back to the idea of the amount of money being involved in the future years. So I guess the question is, Rico, back to what you just said. If it's inevitable that the writing's on the wall to James Cook, and I saw someone mention this earlier, and I'm glad they did, because you and I were talking about this off air, because we were talking about the franchise tag, and then I was like, speaking of which, when the hell was the last time the Bills had even utilized the franchise tag? No, and so that was mentioned in here. It was 2016.
Yeah,
was the last time it was used.
Brandon Beane.
And Brandon Beane's great that way. I don't think he wants to be the guy holding people hostage. I mean, we just saw, and obviously Cincinnati reached a deal with T. Higgins. But how did you feel when you saw him? They hit him with the franchise tag 2 years in a row, right? It was like, come on. Are you
like, right? Don't do that to that guy again.
Exactly. So here's how I'll answer this. If Brandon Beane knows right now, in his heart of hearts, we're never paying him this money, and James Cook is also well aware of that, then Rico, then I probably entertain a trade at that position. If Brandon Beane is going to be honest with himself and say, look, no matter what he does this year, nothing is going to change my mindset that a running back on this team, no matter who it is making top of the market money, then I guess I consider it. However, if Brandon Beane's still sitting there saying, hey, man, I'm going to sit back, and if we get another out of the park year from Cook, I'm inking the deal, then I don't do it. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
I like that. Now I'm going to put myself in Brandon Beane's position because we put ourselves in James Cook's position. Now I'm going to put myself in Brandon Beane's position, and I urge that you join me. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not gonna have a player, and this is an expression my mom would say to me whenever I would just ask her silly questions or just do some stuff in the house. To be like, she'd be like, yo, don't play in my face, okay? And right now, James Cook is almost like he's playing in Brandon B's face. And by playing in his face, meaning doing all this emoji talk, you know how I've operated since I've been here. I've had a good standing with players. I even have players return to Buffalo because I treat them well. Dane Jackson returns, right? If Levi Wallace could return, he definitely would. Jordan Phillips came back, right? If Jordan Poyer could come back, he would. Actually, he did. He was ready to leave. He's like, nah, I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to come back and try. Bro, they don't want to leave Buffalo because they're treated well, right? And there's a mutual respect. And Brandon Beane gives me the vibe of this guy's a respected guy and he respects players. He doesn't give me snake business. That's why I'm a big fan of Brandon Beane. He means what he says and he says what he means. You're not going to play in my face. You saw what happened to Diggs when he's playing in my face and messing with my quarterback and the feng shui of the team, and he's doing all this yappity yap. You're gone. I'll eat that 30 mil. That should have spoke volumes to the whole squad, James Cook especially. So James Cook doing all this yappity yap, eyeball emoji, now you're selling your house? Bro, I'm not going to have this be a distraction to my squad. I'm trying to win championships, and I'm here for the long haul, right? Everybody that took deals took less. You don't think they deserve more? Christian Bedford, I have people saying that he's worth 25, 24, 23 mil. That boy is making 18. You got Greg Rousseau that could have been making 25 mil. He's taking less than that. Every single guy that I've signed has taken less. You're playing in my face. So keep it up. The minute that I get calls on draft day, you gone. Now, that would be me as Brandon Beane, because right now I see there's too much stuff going on. Brandon Beane might look at it differently and say, I understand the player. I get it. I feel for him. Because now what do you do when Cook shows up in camp, pissed off, chip on his shoulder, or holds out and says, I'm not playing because if I get hurt, I'm done for, right? Go back. You guys got to do your research, right? Earl Thomas played on the last year of his deal, trying to respect, play through my contract, got hurt, never the same after that. Teddy Bridgewater, Victor Cruz, never the same after that knee injury, right? Darren McFadden, never the same after the knee injury. All those guys played on their last deals of their contract and was impacted. They never got the full deal that they needed to be compensated by because they played on it. Ryan Shazier.
But let me ask you this. And once again, business is a two-way street. What happens when you pay that contract and then that same thing happens this year?
Guess what? Next man up. And that's why I'm like, if you go play in my face, don't act like I don't have a next man up. You don't think I drafted Ray Davis?
No, this is what I'm saying. No, this is what I'm saying from Brandon Beane's perspective. Exactly what you're talking about right now is the same thing Beane could be thinking inevitably as well.
You're damn right. So now I look at it like this. Keep playing my face. You're going to make me activate, Beane after dark. And by the morning, you can take that for sale sign and I'm going to send you where you want to buy your new home. And they'll give you the contract you deserve because he's deserving of a new contract. I don't think anybody's denying that. He's deserving. Maybe just not in Buffalo for the money that you want. A desperate team will pay it, or a team that has money to give up. The Cardinals, the Raiders, there's teams with money in the bank right now that'll be willing to pay James Cook. And James Cook is as hot as he's going to be. But I got to look at this team as Brandon Beane as for the future. I got to make sure I got a receiver going into this draft. So now if I do field a call and it's lucrative enough for me, not only am I going to move you because I ain't afraid to do what I did to my franchise receiver in James Cook, and Stephon Diggs, I'll do it to the third year back. I won't bat an eye. You should have stayed patient, but you don't want to. And that's fine. That's your prerogative. And I got my prerogative. So you keep messing with me and you keep playing in my face, you might get shipped up. Now, question is, what compensation would you gain for James Cook? I don't know. But I'll tell you this, whatever compensation you get, you can package that up with those 2 second-round picks, that first-round pick, move right up into the top 15 and grab yourself an impact player in this draft, whether it be corner, whether it be a defensive end that stands out, a defensive tackle. Lord knows we need those positions filled. If we don't have James Cook, we won't die. According to Captain Save-A-Cook, my guy, Walter Walter thinks we're gonna die without James Cook if it were up to him. You know what I'm saying? And he knows I called him Captain Save Cook, and that was off the dome. I didn't even mean to say it. It just came out, and now I just keep rolling with it. But the point I'm trying to make is keep playing in Brandon Beane's face. You might find your wish may come true, and you will be moved. So, but I understand where James Cook is standing because I get hurt, I'm done for. So, and you said it earlier. What kind of deal did they offer him to begin with? And was it a slap in James Cook's face? So right now they're at a standstill. So if you're not going to come to a position where you guys can make something happen, then we got to make a move. But then there's the business side of it. And you're still under warrant. You're still under contract. So I'm not obligated to do a damn thing. And if you played nice and kept your mouth shut, maybe I would have worked with you. But you made everything so damn public, I might just have to be out of spite to hold you here. But Beane doesn't give me that vibe. No. So this is where it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out at the end. But it's unfortunate. I'd like James Cook to be here. I think we all agree that we'd love James Cook to do this and run it back and get a championship. But shoot, I ain't going to bat an eye. If tomorrow morning they say James Cook was moved, I'd be like, okay, what's next? Some people feel differently. They feel, what? We need him. He's the piece we need to get over this championship. If not for him, we're done for in that Kansas City game. Or we grab a receiver that really can move the needle, and we may not necessarily need to rely so much on the run game. Anyways, I love the running back position, so I want him to get paid, but this is the nature of the business, and it sucks. This is the shitty part of the business. One wants to get paid. We don't got the money. We paid everybody else but you. I feel like it's personal. Who's the winner? Who's the loser here?
Yeah, just because you're vocal about wanting to get paid doesn't mean you get paid. I mean, once again, really, the Bills hold the cards here. It's not like he's going into this year without a contract. He's under contract. So, I mean, if he sits out, I can't imagine a scenario where he does, because you're going to lose way too much money. I don't think it's a very good look. And then I don't know how willing teams are going to be to pay you top of the market money after not playing a full year either. I mean, I don't know, right? The other thing, too, is I don't look at Brandon Beane to be the type of guy to play tiddlywinks here. You know what I mean? I don't see him being the guy playing the mind games. If there were, like, I go back to the Diggs situation. This is where I find this to be different. You know, Diggs was going on. Remember when he was on with Kay Adams, and he was going on different shows, and he would say certain things. He'd say one thing, and then he'd say another thing. James Cook, it's been a couple of posts. He hasn't said anything like in the public eye. I'm looking back at what we saw this year, and we saw Myles Garrett do the media tour during the Super Bowl. We saw Joe Burrow go on the media tour talking about the Jamar Chase, T. Higgins situation. They're still looking to pay Hendrickson, right? So we saw that. We haven't really seen that. I wonder. This is where it's weird to me. I wonder what's going on behind the scenes. Obviously, James Cook wants to get paid. Is he being told to do this? Is he doing this by his own accord? I have no idea, really. But I will say once again, if Brandon Beane knows right now that this time next year, there is nothing that will change his mindset surrounding paying that type of money for the running back position, then Rico, that's where you start to entertain a situation where maybe a move is made. Because I also think that he doesn't want to hold players hostage either, right? I don't think he wants to have Mike Tomlin coined the phrase, we want volunteers, not hostages, right? I mean, he wants guys that want to be there. Not to say James Cook doesn't want to be there. He wants to play, but he also wants to get paid. Yep. And I think that if Brandon Beane knows that he's not going to get paid by Buffalo, and he's getting a compensation for a guy that he knows he's not going to pay, I mean, I don't think Brandon Beane would do something that wouldn't be in the best interest of the team. And that would be in the best interest of the team, right? If you know you're not going to keep him around and you know you can get something in return. But once again, I wouldn't do it for nothing. I wouldn't do it for peanuts. It would have to be a move that I would be like, man, this is really tough to turn down, right? Because once again, James Cook is the real deal. He is a phenomenal piece to this team. And this is why I wish this wasn't going down, because I brought up the Myles Garrett situation. And this is where you have to be careful doing what Cook is doing.
Okay.
In a different universe, if this was Josh Allen, right? Say like the Bills, for whatever insane reason, were getting cold feet on extending Josh Allen, and he was doing this, it would, you know what I mean? Everybody would be freaking out, would be going insane. I bring that up because I think Myles Garrett is exactly that to Cleveland. And you saw what that wound up resulting in. That resulted in Cleveland setting the record for that position, the compensation for that position to keep Myles Garrett in the building. It's not to discredit James Cook, but it's also, in the same vein, you have to be honest and understand that the offense is not as predicated around him as some of these other guys who are making that amount of money are. And when you look at the numbers and you realize that it's not Saquon Barkley and it's not Derrick Henry, it's a great piece, but it's not that amount of production. Not to say that he would, maybe he's capable of doing that. I don't know. But you also have Josh Allen. You're in a whole different world here, I think, when you have Josh Allen. And I think that this allows Brandon Beane to be a bit more choosy with what he decides to do. And I also think that this stems down to all of the other deals that were made. If the Bills don't have Josh Allen, do you think Greg Rousseau and Christian Benford and Terrell Bernard, do you think all these guys take like friendly deals? I don't think so. And I think that and I've said this a million times, I know from my perspective, personally, I'd be willing to chop a couple off the top to stay in that group. I would, but not everybody is like that. And I think a lot of people are like that, though.
Okay.
And that's why you see deals like those get made frequently.
Okay, perfect. And I like what you said, because I think in my heart of hearts, I think James Cook would have. But then there's what he may feel as though is disrespect. And by that, I mean, I want 15. You told me you can't give me 15. I said, fine, let's work together. Bean comes back and says, I got 9.5 for you every year. And you're looking at 9.5, and you're looking at all the other running backs that are making 9.5 in that range. That's in the James Conner, Verge, and guys around that range. And he might look at, I have more value than a James Conner. Great player, but I feel like I have more value. Age is on my side. Don't do me like that. 12.5, let's work. Bean might say, I don't have 12.5 for you. Maybe 10, but I'm sitting at 9.5. Take it or leave it. That's what I got. Or we can talk about this next year when the money goes up a little bit, and then we'll go from there. But he's like, yo, I don't got next year. I might get hurt. So what is James Cook to do in that scenario where he was willing to work, but maybe, I'm not saying Bean lowballed him, but what if it was a lowball in the eyes of James Cook, where he feels I'm worth more than that? I did shave off the top. I look like the bad guy right now, but I was trying to work, but Bean's not trying to work with me. So what you want me to do? Trade me, because somebody will pay me.
And in that scenario, I have all the respect in the world for James Cook, and I completely understand it. This is where I'm at with this. The most simple way to put it is that I am completely understanding of both parties. I am completely understanding of James Cook wanting to make max money. And if there's a team out there willing to give it to him, and that's the amount of money that he wants, I'm all understanding of him wanting to pursue that route. As I am all understanding of Brandon Beane not wanting to pay that amount of money to a running back when you have one of the highest paid, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I saw someone mention here earlier. They're like, Bruce said, how many touchdowns has Josh Allen taken from Cook? And my response to that would be, they all count the same. What's it matter? A touchdown's a touchdown. Why do we have to pay James Cook more money so that he can have the touchdown instead of Josh Allen? The touchdowns all count the same, and they all lead to points to help win ball games. And this is back to what I'm pretty much saying here. If you don't have Josh Allen, you're probably more likely to pay James Cook. If you have a quarterback in the 16 to 20 range in terms of the top 32 quarterbacks in the league, yeah, you're probably more likely to pay James Cook more towards what he's asking for. But when you have Josh Allen, once again, I think this is where you look at it and say, as much as we want to keep him around, I just don't know if we can justify it, because we know that at the very minimum with Josh Allen, it's not like our offense is going to fall off of a cliff because we had to make a different move at the running back position. It might not be as good. No one's denying that. But once again, you have to factor in, how much are you paying for how much difference in the production? I wonder. That's what I wonder. because this is, once again, another thing I think Bean thinks about. It's the luxury of having a Josh Allen.
Yep.
We have Allen. Say we have to make a move at running back. Like, are we really going to nosedive offensively? We might not be as good, but I'd be hard pressed to believe that we're going to fall outside of the top 6, 7 offenses in the league because we have Josh Allen playing a quarterback for our team.
So here's something that's super creepy for me. So I have my phone open. I'm looking up stuff and just trying to get some stats here. It opened up to an AI app, and it noticed that I was talking about James Cook and the money that he may have been offered and probably feels undervalued. And I mentioned James Cook. It opened up the guys that are getting paid about $9 million right in front of me, which is super creepy, but very convenient. AI assholes, but thank you. Anyway, James Cook, and the next guy that's making money like that is Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon, and Montgomery, and Ramondre Stevenson. So
Stevenson's at 9, Montgomery's at 9.1, James Conner's at 9.5, Joe Mixon's just under 10, Aaron Jones is at 10.
So Bean is probably like, this is where I see you in this range, because these are all great backs, solid backs. They help their team. This is the range I see you. But Cook is probably like, nah, I'm better than that. I'm younger than these guys. You've seen what I'm able to do. My arrow's pointing up. At least give me in the Josh Jacobs range, Jonathan Taylor range. I want to be around there. And Bean's like, this is where the disconnect is. I see you near Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon's a damn good running back. DeAndre Swift, not a bad player. Aaron Jones, same thing. Good player. Ramondre Stevenson's a dog. I see you around there. And this is where the value that James Cook might be overvaluing himself. And Brandon B's not about that. This is where I see the value are. You think you're more than that? Well, if that's the case, this is where I'm going to cease conversation. No disrespect to you. We're going to stop talking. You're going to play this next year, and away we go. But now, the question now is, does James Cook make more noise? He saw what Stephon Diggs did, made a lot of noise, made him look like the bad guy, and this, that, and the third, and then moved him, took the dead cap. This is where,
you know what I find interesting about all of the players we just listed and the teams that they play for? You want to know what I find to be very interesting about that?
Talk to me.
All of those teams, for the most part, are either bad or have a quarterback on a rookie deal. Joe Mixon's on the Texans, and CJ Stroud's on his rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have Alvin Kamara on the Saints, and they're in quarterback hell, right? Are they going to bring Derek Carr back? What are they going to do there? We've mentioned Jonathan Taylor. They don't have a quarterback that they rely on right now. Aaron Jones for the Vikings, they're going into the year more than likely with a first-time starting quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. James Conner, Kyler Murray, it's up and down, but he's nowhere near proved to the league that he is a top 10 running back, right? And then the one that you could argue, right, Jordan Love with the Packers, he did get an extension, I believe, right? Jordan Love did.
Jordan Love, he got a big time extension.
Yeah, he got a huge one. So out of all of those teams, the only team that has paid their quarterback their second contract or beyond that and is a pretty solid team is Green Bay. But that whole mix of guys, you're either on a team that isn't great or on a team that doesn't have great quarterback talent or isn't paying their quarterback much. So the only team, of course, that's on the outlier is the Eagles. But once again, I think Saquon Barkley is the ultimate outlier. I mean, Saquon Barkley is the best in the game. He could have been the MVP last year, for God's sake. Yep. So I just don't think we can compare apples to apples here. And it's no slight at James Cook. I'm not comparing Saquon Barkley to anybody else. Maybe we can talk about Derrick Henry, maybe. But once again, we're talking about 2 Hall of Fame running backs. And they've been doing it for years now. Years. I think Saquon's going into what? His 8th year?
7, yeah, going to 7 to 8 years.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry is what? He's over a decade now or going into a decade. So it's just one of those positions, man, where it's awfully tough, and I totally get it. It's tough for the management side of things. It's tough for the player side of things. It really is.
So I'm going to hypothetically put you in a situation here. So I was having a conversation with the crew, and we were talking about the value, and the conversation came to Derrick Henry and what Derrick Henry was doing on a $10 million contract and what James Cook was asking for. I said there's more value in Derrick Henry than there is James Cook and what they're asking for. If you were to look at both players and say, who would actually deserve 15 mil if they're asking for it, you would look over at Derrick Henry and say, Derrick Henry. Now, age aside, Derrick Henry's the guy. So then I was asking people, well, who would you pay the 15 mil to? Who's worth the 15 mil if you're looking at it? James Cook or Derrick Henry? And I put you on the spot.
And once again, I think if I'm Brandon Beane, I say neither. I'm not paying, because I genuinely think that I don't think Brandon Beane's paying any running back $15 million.
That's not my question. Who's worth the more 15 mil if you were to look at both body work right now based on last year and what they bring
on a
to their
year,
team?
on a year-to-year deal, like 1 year deal?
Sure, year-to-year deal, however you want to look at it. One's asking for 15 mil. Who deserves 15 mil if you're looking at both players, James Cook or Derrick Henry?
I mean, Derrick Henry.
There you go. It's
on a 1 year.
Not a big, tough question.
Well, no, I'm saying, but if we're talking about a 4-year deal or something, then no, I don't think I could sign Derrick Henry up for a 4-year deal on $15 million.
Of course not. Of course not. But I wouldn't be surprised to tell you, to be honest with you, if Buddy came in and says, hey guys, I want to get paid 15 mil. I'm asking to be paid crazy big money, 15 mil. I think the Baltimore Ravens would absolutely consider. I think they look at him and be like, yo, I'll give you 15 mil over the next 2 years. I don't know what kind of deal they would construct for him, but he's worth more than 10 mil a year. That's for sure. And what he did for that damn offense, absolutely. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out.
So Walt's bringing this up. He's saying the funny thing about this Cook conversation is there are a lot of people that's pumping up Barkley and Henry being worth the price, when this time last year, those same people didn't think they were worth it. I wanted to bring this up because we didn't think Saquon was worth it because he's playing for the New York Giants. This is my whole point. These teams that have these running backs, unfortunately, they're in a position where they're on these type of teams. The Titans, we were talking about Derrick Henry at this rate because Derrick Henry was the Tennessee Titans. The only reason I think people weren't willing to pay Saquon Barkley type money is because Derrick Henry is doing an unprecedented level of work right now at the age that he's at. It's incredible what he's doing. He's at an age right now where he's not going to get that money. The Saquon Barkley situation is entirely different. Saquon Barkley was great, but he was the only piece of the Giants puzzle. And look what you saw happen the second he got on a decent team. He was incredible. This is my whole point back to James Cook. Okay. If you want to get paid, it feels like you're going to have to get paid by a team that feels that they need a running back far more than the next guy. And what does that typically mean? Well, their offense probably ain't that great. You take Derrick Henry off of that Ryan Tannehill Tennessee Titans team, you think they're the 1 seed that year a couple of years back? You think they're a multi-time playoff team? Mm-hmm. No way in hell. And I don't think you can say the same about the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, regardless of who's playing running back.
Listen, it's a valid point, and this is why this offseason is going to be very tricky. This is supposed to be very quiet at this point. It's super quiet. It's supposed to be quiet. We're going into the draft, so now this is all about draft. But
that's the other thing, too.
What's that, buddy?
No, that's the other thing, too. It's a quiet time right now, right? So this story is magnified because of it.
1,000%. But it doesn't hurt to have conversations about, okay, so if this is worse than we think it is, especially with the putting the house up for sale, then it's absolutely got to be a conversation that these folks could be having leading up to the draft. Because you know how things happen. I mean, you saw what took place with the Bills. I don't think anybody had any idea the Bills would have been even close to moving down and drafting Josh Allen when you had 5 primo quarterbacks in that draft, and the Bills were picking at like 22. Dude, how are we going to move to the top 10 and find a way? And Beane did it. Move Cordy Glenn, move down to the freaking 12th pick, and then trade up again to get to the 7th pick. So it's been done. He may have something cooking up right now. So that's one thing that we're just gonna have to watch out and pay attention to going forward, because it's not dying. It's not gonna go away. We're always gonna be wondering what the heck's Beane's gonna do, because it's not like we don't have anybody sitting in the back seething, ready to go. Ray Davis is ready to go. All right, he's ready to go. Now, 2 different backs, albeit, but they do similar things. So can I run in between the tackles? Yes. The one that stands out about Ray Davis is you don't have to take that brother out to pass protect. You got to take that brother out, James Cook, to pass protect. So that plays a whole nother ball game. But we'll see how it all shakes out in the end when it comes down to it.
It'll also be very telling.
We'll find out.
It'll be very telling how the running back position is approached this upcoming draft too. If the class of running backs is as good as everybody says it is, well, if Brandon Beane is thinking that the future is coming to an end, so to speak, with James Cook. You would have to think it would be malpractice to not explore the running back market in this upcoming draft. So
I mean, it's a malpractice. I like it.
I think that could be a big tell, right? I mean, depending on how high it is, too. We obviously know the Bills have multiple picks in the first couple of rounds. And that's one thing to keep an eye on, I would say, for sure.
There's no doubt about it. So James Cook, could he play his final year with a grin on his face and pissed off and going into the year with a chip on his shoulder, or could he be moved before the draft? We'll see. Hopefully, I hope these guys get a chance to sit down and there's something ironed out where they say, listen, man, maybe in the mid-year I might revisit it. I don't know yet. We'll see how this all plays out. But Brandon Beane seems to be a guy that stands on his business, and he means what he means, and he says what he says, and we haven't really seen him waver. He's been on point. When he's messed up, he's made it clear that he's messed up. Kyer Elam, gone, right? Who was it? We drafted in the second round, the tackle, Cody Ford, gone, right? So I've made mistakes.
Tremaine Edmonds is the big one.
Tremaine Edmonds, I could have re-signed that brother, but we said, I'm gonna let you walk because I'm not paying you the money that the Bears have paid you. It's not gonna happen. So we're gonna see. This is going to be telling what finally takes place with James Cook. So we'll see. We're gonna find out what takes place with James Cook, and we're gonna be following closely. What do we got on the docket, brother? What do we got on the docket?
Before we move on to our next topic, should we tackle a couple of super chats? We got 10 of them waiting for us right now.
Jump on it.
Including my man, Matty DeVideo, kicking us off this evening, saying the boys are back and ready to rock and roll. Go Bills. Matty, good to have you in as always. Good to be back with you. And we are back. We are ready to rock. And that draft we keep alluding to is less than 3 weeks away. In fact, 3 weeks from tonight, Rico, we'll be hunkered down for round 2, which, of course, last year we had to wait all the way until round 2 for the Bills to get a pick off. We sat around all damn night that Thursday just to trade with the Chiefs. Hopefully a different outcome this year. We'll see what happens. Will 42 saying we play Philly at home this season. That should be the first game of the season. Eagles at Bills, salute. Would be great. Unfortunately, that can't be the case because Philly will have a home game to raise the banner. They will have the opening night game, of course, correct, as the tradition tends to be with the Super Bowl champion. But I'll tell you one thing. That game will either be a 4:25 or a primetime game. I can assure you that. They're not stuffing Bills Eagles into the 1 p.m. window. And if you remember, the last time the Bills and the Eagles went head-to-head, ooh, baby, was that a show in the rain? Remember, we thought the Bills season was all but over after that loss, Rico. Yes. Bills came crawling back. But, Will, I like where your head's at. But even though it won't be the first game of the season, it will be one of the games of the season. And I can promise you, in the last season of the Ralph, which we'll talk about in a minute here, the Bills put the final beam in the top of the stadium. We'll talk about that in a bit. But the final year of the Ralph has some killer home games. The Eagles, of course, are one of them. Maddie's coming back in again, Rico. He's saying, did you guys see... Oh, Maddie's reading my mind here, Rico. He's saying, did you guys see the final steel beam be put in to the new Bills Stadium? It was beautiful to see, not just from a fan perspective, but from a historical standpoint. I like the way you're putting that, Matt, because I like to think about these things too. I'm not going to lie to you. This offseason, I don't know how you are, Rico, and maybe it's a little bit different for me just growing up, going to this stadium my whole life, but man, it's not lost on me. It's been weighing on me a lot, the idea of this season being the last. Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. Have you given any thought to that at all?
You know what, Walter, I think it was Walt that asked me that last week and how I felt about, this being the last season. And there was one thing that I did mention that, and you actually came to mind, to be honest with you, because I said, that memories in that stadium, whether this was where me and my dad, we went for the longest time until, something happened to my dad or my brother, or this is I proposed to my fiance in this thing, or I brought my firstborn child to this game. There's going to be so many memories that people will have in that stadium. So it will be bittersweet because obviously out with the old, in with the new, right next door. But I totally understand it. I don't have that tie to it. I remember my first game and it was amazing. It was a Monday nighter against the Dallas Cowboys. Amazing. Does that stick with me? No, but I don't have sentimental memories. I brought Jenna with me for the first time. That was cool. I brought my brother to a game. That was cool to see his reaction to his first NFL game. It was dope. So there will be some moments where I'm like, But then I'm also looking forward to the new one that I'll never be able to afford to go to. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be very sentimental for you. I'm sure you're going to have some moments. I won't be surprised if you drive the Buffalo and they say, "All right, guys, we're giving opportunities to people to take their seats with them." Or
I've thought about that.
Or the piece of this and the piece of that. We'll talk about that. But
well,
yeah,
no, when they put the new turf in, they sold the old turf. So if you don't think they're not going to be selling chunks of the Ralph online, and if you don't think I'm not going to be putting in a bid either,
I knew you would be.
Believe me. But I'll tell you what, man, it's funny. I've been thinking about it a lot. I don't know why. Just, everybody talks to me about the Bills, and it's one of the things I bring up because I think, what's funny? A lot of people who aren't diehard fans, they don't realize the Bills are getting a new stadium. It's kind of been, you don't really hear a whole lot about it, right? I mean, obviously we know about it, but since the construction of it has been coming about here, and we see the new renderings, of course, of like what Cleveland's doing or whatever, you almost kind of forget about it. And if you're not really tapped in, you're not fully aware of the idea that this is the last year with the Ralph, and the following year will be in that new stadium. I'm with you. I am equally as excited for the new one. But it's almost it's just super bittersweet to me because
it is. I can see it.
I got a million memories, man. I'll tell you one thing though. The only way I have this fantasy, man. I have this crazy fantasy, this crazy dream.
Let me hear it.
The last game in the Ralph is the Bills hosting the AFC Championship against the Chiefs, and they finally get it done. Which in what would be the last game ever in that stadium to go to the Super Bowl. You couldn't script it any better. So, by the way, here's the video that was posted earlier on the Bills Twitter. And this is Terry Pagula addressing those that were working on the stadium. And this is them putting up the aforementioned banner or beam.
Yep. Oh, we can't have the audio. I don't have the audio.
Oh, my bad. I'll tell you one thing, too. So I was at the playoff game for the Broncos, the wild card game, Rico.
Right.
The difference between now and then, the completion the progress they've made is staggering.
Is it?
Oh, my God, yeah. Like I saw the aerials recently from up top. I mean, it looked like it was coming along when I was in there, and this was early January. Okay. Dude, I mean, it looks like, they're just
deal.
Yeah, it really does, man. So crazy.
Are they calling it the Highmark Stadium again? Are
yes.
they keeping the name?
It's going to be Highmark Stadium. Yep.
Okay, so they're keeping the name. Boo.
Yep. So that'll be fun to watch develop, and of course, that's a huge storyline for this year. Channing Hill, find a trade partner for a 3rd round pick and help Jimbo find a new house in a new market. And like we said, Channing, I mean. If Brandon Beane knows, if Brandon Beane's fully cognizant of the idea that he's not going to be paying James Cook, then, why not exercise the idea to get some capital? And I think, Rico, you're pretty much in the same boat there.
I'm absolutely in the same. I'm in the same boat. So listen, if you know he's unhappy, if you're a stand-up guy, Mr. Beane, you'll find a way to kind of have a mutual way of partying. But you also don't want to move on from a key cog in this offense. If you value James Cook the way Josh Allen does and the rest of this team and what he does for this team, then you think you work something out, but maybe he doesn't value the running back. I went back to look at in Beane's tenure as a GM for the Bills. Has he paid a running back an extension? No. He moved on from Zach Moss. He drafted Zach Moss, moved on from Zach Moss. He said, nah, you ain't the guy. Devin Singletary, he was like, nah, you ain't the guy. I'm going to let you walk. You good, right? He brings in James Cook. We're having this little battle here of what we're going to do with him. Even when he was with the Panthers, he wasn't the main guy, but under his tenure, there was D'Angelo Williams and James Stewart, but he wasn't the GM. Those are the two guys that got extensions, running back wise. So you think that he was under that, that umbrella that does have value in the running back, but he wasn't calling the shots then. So now that he's calling the shots, he probably doesn't see the value like other GMs do. So his value is clearly in the defensive front, in the trenches, and getting some receivers for his quarterback. He's damn lucky that he was able to draft Josh Allen. So right now you got to build for Josh Allen. Do you take a piece away from Josh Allen, or is Josh Allen the piece? Right? We build around Josh Allen, and we don't necessarily have to build around James Cook. We build around Josh Allen. So the offense rolls through that, brother. So we'll see how that all shakes out at the end of the day. But I ain't tripping. I see the way the game is played. And listen, you got to just play the game. You got to play the game. That's what it comes down to. Richie Fresh comes in, Bot. I gotta poke some PTSD, man. Come draft time, if Casey is on the phone at the draft and wants cook, thoughts. Also, what teams are you not dealing with? That's what he wants to know, and that's going to you, my guy. He's putting you on the spot.
So we already established we're not going to be working with Kansas City. That's
Absolutely.
on the record. I wouldn't work with Baltimore, but I don't see how they would be involved in this in any capacity. I wouldn't work with Cincinnati.
Okay.
I don't really. I mean, they potentially, but I doubt it. They got their own fish to fry over there, so I doubt it. I'd never work with Miami just because I wouldn't. The Jets don't need them. I wouldn't mind working with the Jets because who cares, right? I mean, what does it matter? That's pretty much it. I'm telling you, I'm not that much of a gatekeeper unless it comes to Kansas City. Then no, you can. Once again, I've been on record saying if they're crawling around in the desert and I'm the guy with I'm Conehead at the game with the water bucket over my head, I'm walking in the other direction. So that's pretty much where it ends.
I like that. Channing Hill, what's up, Channing? Channing, we're gonna do draft talk this year. What you showing? By the way, shout out to everybody that's tuned into our show right now. The draft is 3 weeks away. Join us, and have fun with us. I'm gonna try to put a panel together of people. That means it's gonna be me, Bot, and a selective people. Right? I might even try to reach out to our guy Rev. If Rev is in, I'm sure Rev would want to jump in here and hang out with us and do this whole panel talk. And we're gonna have our usual, and we'll go from there. So you guys tune in. We'll have some live commentary. Obviously, we'll bring in some people live to chat with us, and we'll take you off. You know how the drill is. We'll get that popping.
Draft night never disappoints, folks. 3 weeks from last night. It never disappoints.
Love it. Channing was there last year with us. That's why I tried to reach out. So Channing says, I have absolutely no emotions about James Cook. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. So for a good team, for the good of the team, trade him now for the good of the team. And there are a lot of people that feel that way. There's a lot of people that feel that way. So I totally get it. This wasn't a super chat, but this was Walter coming in. He says, I don't understand how people think you can tell the story of this historic Bills offense ripping out a key piece. Cook is the only player that can say he played at a high level before Brady last year. Or I think he's saying for Brady last year. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And the same way that when Diggs left, we thought that we're gonna be in the hole and nobody's gonna step up. People stepped up. Khalil Shakir stepped up, right? We got Keon Coleman that stepped up, Curtis Samuel. Everybody did their part, and we didn't miss a beat, and we became a better offense than we were last year. So a key cog, like you want to call it, like he's gonna be such a big piece, lost to the team. Listen, James Cook missed the game last year. Let's not forget. And when Ray Davis took over, did we miss a beat? Absolutely not. We did not. So that argument is put through the trash because that don't work. It don't work. Not with me, it won't. So love the commentary, by the way. Love the commentary.
I get what Walt's saying wholeheartedly. And once again, no one wants to get rid of him. No one wants to move off of him. It comes down to the semantics and the business side of things that makes it really difficult to consider keeping him. I will say, I know it's it's not the same position and it's a different team altogether, but the Chiefs won one Super Bowl with Tyreek Hill, and they moved off of him, and people were saying the exact same thing about Kansas City. They were saying that, wow, I mean, I just don't see how this offense is going to be what it once was, and that's a team that made 3 Super Bowls after getting rid of Tyreek Hill and won 2 of them. And you look at what Miami's done with Tyreek Hill, and they've pretty much done nothing in terms of taking a step forward. He now wants out, it seems, again. So the idea that the Bills might be as good on the ground, I can't sit here and make that argument. But the idea that the Bills are going to be this milk carton type offense, I also can't make that argument either. And when it comes to that type of money, I think these are the questions you have to ask yourself. Are we really going to get that amount of money out, value-wise, out of that type of move? And I think this is why you see time and time again, teams neglect to pay that type of money at that position.
I don't know if you read this one yet.
I didn't. And I wanted to parlay this one with another one that I saw because it had me thinking of something. No, you're good. Richie, my man, saying, my God, it's like Christmas. Friday night, and the band is back together. But here's a housewarming for you. Appreciate it, Richie. Thank you, brother. Take some of this and get some froyo. That's weird because Caroline was just out with my nieces and nephews getting froyo while we were live. So you must have had the telepathy with Caroline going on there. Richie saying, hot take, we don't need Cook. Should have been quiet, or he should have kept his mouth shut, hit the horn. Once again,
that's my guy, Richie.
I'm fine with once again, I'm fine with James Cook doing what he's doing, but he also has to understand the repercussions that come with it, right? He has all the right in the world to voice his opinion and his frustrations about the contract. But we also know that when you do this, it is off the beaten path. It is abnormal, and it does put a target on your back, and it does kind of label you something that maybe others wouldn't have thought you to be. And whether you actually are that or not is one thing. Unfortunately, the way things go nowadays, it doesn't matter. If you become the guy that's outspoken in this type of way, then this is exactly what it results in, right, Rico? You got people on one side of the fence or the other, and they're taking sides and this and that. So as much right as he has to express his desire to get paid is the same amount of right that Brandon Beane has to express, their ability to kind of stand their ground and where they think that position is worth right now and what they're willing to spend on it. But Richie, you did say that it feels like Christmas. And I saw a super chat in here earlier that also mentioned Christmas. And there's a good reason for it, because if you have not heard by now, Channing Hill's coming in and saying, Ziba, what you described earlier will be our Hallmark movie. And I had said that the final game in the Ralph being the AFC Championship, where the Bills go on to the Super Bowl beating the Chiefs, would be the greatest send-off of all time. It would be a Hallmark-type movie. But the Bills are already getting a Hallmark movie. Rico, if you haven't heard, the Bills have been announced as the team that will be featured in a Hallmark Christmas movie this coming year.
Is that right?
Called Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story, which is filmed around Buffalo. Last year, Rico, there was a similar movie featuring the Kansas City Chiefs. This year, it will feature the Bills. The reason why I find this interesting, one, I just love the moments that you get where you're like, man, the Bills are they're really one of those teams right now. Yeah, exactly. But this is something that came to mind. Did you see the announcement yesterday when it came to Christmas Day 2025?
I did not.
The Christmas slate of games, Rico, will now be a triple header moving forward. Two games.
They're trying to go up against the NBA like you wouldn't believe. Go on.
So, they're not just trying to go up against the NBA. They completely robbed the NBA of the day, and they are 100%. Going to continue to do it in the worst way possible. But the reason this came to mind, I think them Buffalo Bills are going to be playing on the day Santa Claus comes to town. What are your thoughts on the potential of seeing the Buffalo Bills playing Christmas Day when the schedule comes out next month?
I got to be real. I don't like it.
Oh, me either, buddy.
I don't like it. I don't like it, man. Like, I want to be able to enjoy. Why they got to do that, man? I get it. You want to monopolize. You want to make as much money as possible. Everybody's home at this point. I get it. Now, if you're going to make the Bills play on Christmas, fine. Make it the last game of the night.
Yes, please.
Don't disrespect us by making it the first game. But we want to make everybody tune into. No. Everybody's going to be having turkey dinner. We're doing all that stuff. Bro, chill out and make us the third game. Don't do it to us in the second game. I'm not trying to have that. I mean, the kids are going to be there. They're all. I want everybody just to settle down. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. What day does Christmas fall on?
Good question. Let me check.
I'll find that out. Oh, don't do it. I don't know how the chat feels. Listen. Chat, talk to me. So Christmas this year falls.
I think it's a Thursday. Yeah.
Falls on a Thursday. Boxing Day. Do you guys call it Boxing Day?
No.
Oh, you don't? Is that a Canadian thing?
It's just a Canadian thing. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. So Christmas Day, then Boxing Day, the next. So what's the day after Christmas for you guys? Black Friday or Black whatever?
Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving.
So what's the day after Christmas for you guys?
Oh, I guess technically it is Boxing Day, but it's not. Nobody celebrates.
Yeah, call it Boxing Day. We know Boxing Day is the day after Christmas. Isn't that what you guys do?
Maybe it is, but what even is that though?
I don't know.
Oh, so it's not a thing.
It is a thing because Boxing Day stores are open and you got Boxing Day sales and so on and so forth. So like people go out and shop on Boxing Day. It's a holiday.
Okay.
And that's it. We don't go back to work and all that stuff.
Yeah.
After Christmas, Boxing Day, and then falls into the weekend, which is nice.
All right. So let me say my piece on this because I'm getting anxiety over it. I've shared the story on here before about my episode at my brother-in-law's house on Thanksgiving Day, where you guys, of course, remember Bills Lions a handful of years ago, where it came down to Josh Allen throwing one of the greatest throws I've ever seen across the middle of the field. And Diggs catches it, they win on a walk-off. I was losing my mind. I was going insane. I'll never forget my brother-in-law's mom. She's such a sweetheart, and she was sitting there, and the game ended, and I hadn't realized that everyone was just standing there, not waiting to see what happened in the game, but just waiting to see what I would do. And the game ended, and she looked at me and she said, I don't remember the exact words, but she was basically like, that was one of the most entertaining things I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody like this before. She said, I couldn't take my eyes off you, type of thing. And it wasn't because they didn't wait to eat, like for me, like they just waited to eat because it was like they couldn't take their eyes off of the episode. I was pacing. I was going nuts. The reason I bring this up is Thanksgiving's a major holiday in the States. I would say it's the second biggest holiday to Christmas.
It is.
Christmas is a whole different ballgame. And you mentioned it. The kids are everywhere. It's about everybody together. It's a loving day. I love having the games on in the background, but the idea of Christmas Day having to sweat out a Bills game, and I'll tell you, they're not going to put Bills Jets on Christmas Day, Rico. It's going to be one of those top tier games. You know it. You just know it. That's a little terrifying to me. And I got a feeling, Rico, we're going to see it.
We're definitely going to see it. Do you think they'll make it Bills KC?
No, because KC, the other thing mentioned, did you see this? I find this interesting. So you know how, of course, the Cowboys and the Lions play every single Thanksgiving?
Of course.
The Chiefs have made it known that they want to be featured on Christmas every single year. They want to be the Lions-Cowboys equivalent of the Thanksgiving Day games to the Christmas Day games. So I would imagine it wouldn't be Bills Chiefs because they know the Bills and the Chiefs are the NFL's cash cow right now. They're their ratings they're their ratings gold mine.
Absolutely.
So they're not gonna pin them up against each other because they know they're gonna get the double rating boost from both those teams.
True.
So yeah, like Channing saying like Bills Eagles would be nutty. And the other thing too, you have to question too, if you're like a season ticket holder or you're in the Buffalo area, it'll be easier for me to kind of pass on this. But do you go to the game if it's Christmas Day? You know, Absolutely. Like that's another thing. I don't know.
Now, I would assume the only people that would go to the game are young professionals, no children.
Yes.
Live out of town, don't live with mom. Mom, this year I'm not coming to Christmas. I'm doing, this is going to be my Christmas gift for me. Unless they do it, hey guys, do you guys want to skip Christmas and do Christmas in Buffalo as a game? And we could do a hotel and we could do that type of thing. That's the only way I can see it happening. But I don't know. Most people just want to take that week to relax from work.
Yeah.
And doing all the traveling during Christmas. Bro, no.
I need to set up a hidden camera and then go up to Caroline and say, honey, I'm going to be spending Christmas Day at the Ralph. You're more than welcome to join. But that's where we're going to be. We're going to be opening gifts in the RV lot. What are your thoughts? And I would imagine that would go over swimmingly, Rico.
She'd be looking around. She's like, where's the camera? Because I know you're fucking with me.
Yeah. So we'll see. I saw the movie come out. Obviously, the Bills are at the height of popularity now. MVP Allen. It would not shock me in the slightest to see the Bills penciled in on Christmas Day this year.
Did you tell the people who's starring in it? Did you tell them who it was?
So
did you give them the surprise? Folks, if you guys don't realize, Caroline and Z-Bot have been nominated and they will be starring in this movie as the couple that they kind of read. You guys are telling your story. Is that what it is?
Yep. It's going to be our story. And essentially what happens is in the movie, Alan, so this is in typical Hallmark movie fashion.
Yeah, please do.
So it's Christmas Day and Alan misses the team flight and he can't make the game. So for some wacky circumstance, they give Bot the call Bot's got to go in and play QB for the Bills. And the movie's called Holiday Touchdown. I don't want to give away too much, but your boy may or may not be crossing the pylon to get it done for the Bills on Christmas Day. You're gonna need to take a
peek. And what I love, what's so wholesome about this movie that's happening while Bot is saving the team, Caroline has a whole Christmas dinner. Josh, his lady, Haley, what's her name? Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah,
they're having dinner with Bot's folks, and Caroline, the kids having turkey, watching the game as Bot is dialing in.
Goes nuts. Just goes nuclear.
Absolutely not. And there's a wonderful moment between Z-Bot and Coach McDermott.
Yes. You remember the movie Santa Claus with Tim Allen, where he becomes Santa Claus essentially? I become Josh Allen in this movie.
Amazing.
It's basically a spinoff of Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Where'd you get your acting chops? Where'd you go to school for that?
I didn't. I can't believe I entered a contest and they picked my name. It was incredible.
It's the year of the bot. It's the year of the bot. I'm telling you, I love it.
If it ain't this year, I don't know what year it is, Rico. I'll tell you one thing. It is the year of the bot. Hollywood bot. Bent brim bot takes Hollywood, baby. I can't wait. But let's hope the game.
Love it.
Let's hope the game isn't Christmas Day, but I got a weird feeling that it's going to be. Channing's coming in again, Rico, by the way. He's saying find a trade. Oh, we already said this one, right? Find a trade partner. Yeah, we got that. We talked about that, and we'll see.
Laura says, amazing. We all got to watch. I'm with you.
I think we got to let Laura know that there was a hint of sarcasm in there. Yeah. As much as I'd like to be the star, I think they probably found somebody with a 6-pack and acting classes behind their belt that are probably going to be doing it.
This beautiful thing about these holiday movies is there's a dilemma. You fix the dilemma, but there's a heartfelt. I mean, I think you're the perfect guy for the role. You're perfect guy for the role.
I would have been. But they said that I couldn't bend my hat in the movie, and I said that was a deal breaker. Because I'm a big Hollywood guy now, Rico. I get to call the shots, and if they're not going to be answering to my demands, then I'm out. That's the way it rolls now.
Love it.
Channing's coming in again. Channing on a roll tonight. We appreciate you, Channing. Said, find his replacement with the pick we get back from the trade. And once again, we talked about it earlier. I think it'll be awfully telling to see how Brandon Beane operates this draft. If they do take a running back early, and I don't mean like, I don't mean first round Amari and Hampton type of thing, but they do have 2 second-round picks. Maybe they trade back into the 3rd round as well with their later picks. If you do see that, I think that has to mean something, in terms of the James Cook situation, Rico.
No doubt about it. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if that happens, we're healthy. You got Ty Johnson, and this is the thing I was trying to tell people. We were absolutely waiting with bated breath to find out, is Ty Johnson, the 3rd string running back, going to get signed? And we did it. Everybody was like, yeah. So why are we tripping? You got Ray Davis, you got Ty Johnson, you got Frank Gore Jr. You guys are loving. Hey man, if the show must go on, the show must always go on. I think we all know that. It is what it is, folks. It is what it is.
And Richie's pretty much preaching your sentiment there. He's saying, in my opinion, Cook is good as gone with Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, and Frank Gore Jr. in the wing with a good running back class. Yep. Cook is cooked respectfully. See, I'm not there all the way. Like I still value Cook a lot. And I still think he is unquestionably the best running back on the team. I think that goes without saying, but I still also think he's one of the better running backs in the league. I just do look at their current situation, and it's tough to kind of get to the point of considering that type of money for that position. Once again, I've been saying this for months now. Nothing's changed. It's a really, really tough situation for me. I've never really been in a spot where I want the guy, but I also totally understand the hesitation to paying that type of money at the same time.
Listen, it goes back to the Stevie Johnson. I wanted Stevie Johnson and Sammy Watkins on the same team for them to do it. And I was devastated when they moved on from him. I'm not saying it's the same scenario at all, but I've come to grips when players move on and they get traded, cut, whatever the case is. After they did that to my man Stevie, I was like, oh no, not Stevie, because that's my favorite Bill. I was like, all right, after that, if you move on, you move on. If it is what it is, then we'll move on with it. So James Cook, services have been great, but let's look at the totality and say, 1,000 yards is really just 67 yards. I'm not going to downplay it. I don't want to downplay it, but I got to keep it a buck as well. 66, 67 yards a game. Actually, less than that, because now there's 18 games. So it's like 65 yards rushing a game. So it sounds great, 1,000 yards, but like, I mean, when you start getting to 12, 13, 14, all right, then you can stand on it and say it with your chest and say, I want my money. I mean, you just creeped over 1,000 yards. You had 16 rushing touchdowns. I mean, it's good. It's solid. I'm not taking away from it, but I mean, shoot, give those opportunities to Ray Davis. I think you'll see the same thing, bro. Same thing. Wear you down.
Looks like Richie and I were on the same wavelength. He's saying, I think last season at the Ralph, the last home game should be Eagles. Only team Allen hasn't beaten. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. That's interesting. Or, of course, the Chiefs to close it out. Like I mentioned to you, Richie, I can't think of a better send-off than a home AFC championship game at the Ralph under the lights against the Chiefs. The Bills get it done to move on to the Super Bowl. I mean, I just don't. Whatever is entailed in this Hallmark movie would not be able to top that literal movie that would play out in front of us. That would be nuts. Richie's also saying, Rico, despite the new stadium being 9,000 seats less, I see it actually being louder than the current one because of the construction, if that makes sense. And it makes a lot of sense, Richie, because this stadium was designed to do exactly what you're talking about. It was designed to maximize the volume. And there's a lot of things to be excited about with this new stadium. I know as much as I said I'm sad about the Ralph closing, that's not to say I'm not excited about the new one. There's going to be a lot to love about that stadium.
This new stadium, bro. I didn't know anything about PSLs.
Yeah.
I had to look it up, the PSLs. Was it a personal seat license? You got to buy the license to own your seats. And then on top of that, you got to pay for your season tickets.
Yes.
Like, does the Buffalo mayor or the people that make these decisions, do they think they're living in a luxurious town where people just got money like that? Like, it's crazy to me that they feel that people are just going to be able to do it. And the funny thing is, people will make it work, and just I just can't understand it. It's crazy to me. The amount of money
I think the PSL is ridiculous. That's a new thing. I'm dying to see. Over time, I wonder if the prices come down. Like, I'm just interested to see what the single game ticket situation is going to look like. But I know a lot of people personally that did not opt to go into their seasons again with the new stadium for that reason.
Dude, I've been doing this for years and I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And now you just have a bunch of corporate bozos giving seats to people that don't give a damn about the team. Anyways, I can already see this being an issue. I'm sure of it.
Well, I'll say one thing. If it is an issue, then you're going to see it reflected in the ticket price, I would imagine. That's what I hope. I hope that it winds up getting to a point where, there
you go. Papa Bill, you got it, man. It's going to price out the locals where the premise of Bills Mafia is Bills Mafia, the locals and the people that make this team. And then now they're not going to be able to go. Now it's a bunch of freaking big shots from Toronto that are going to come over there and they kind of like the team, but they're there for a good time. But you're not going to have the original Mafia. You're going to have a bunch of fraud Mafia in there. Anyway, is what it is.
Jay Mills rounds the super chats out for now. He's saying trade that 2026 first pick to move up for a chance at the Colorado receiver, a.k.a. Rico. You know who he's talking about, Travis Hunter. And that would be a long way to the top to get Travis Hunter. I think you'd have to get all the way to the top 5 in order to get him.
Most likely.
So that would be nice, but I don't see it happening. I don't see the Bills trading up in this draft either. It feels like the value is not necessarily top heavy this year compared to other years. I think the Bills are in a really good spot this year with the amount of depth they have in terms of picks. I could see them really capitalizing on the later rounds that they currently have picks at, maybe utilizing some of those later round picks to get back into the third, like I mentioned. But I think they're set up to have a really solid draft with the depth that seems to be within this upcoming class.
No question. I feel that.
And then Sandman, what's he got? Bob, what number will you wear for the movie? Got to be something meaningful. Actually, Jim Kelly is going to unretire the number 12 for one night only so that I can wear it in the Hallmark Christmas movie. Isn't that right, Caroline? Speaking of the other star of the movie.
Hey.
There she is.
We're starring in the Hallmark Bills movie.
Hey-yo. Oh, wait, the one that you told me about.
Yeah,
so
I told you about that.
The one that you got.
While I got her here, should I tell her?
Sure.
I'm going to tell her. So, rumor has it, the Bills are going to be playing on Christmas Day. I wanted to get your thoughts.
Rico, you're not taking Christmas away from me.
I know. We just wanted to get your thoughts on maybe opening presents at the game and maybe going to it.
And the stream.
Where's the end button?
Christmas.
It's not confirmed yet, honey. We'll talk about it when it happens. We'll talk about it when we need to. Oh, and there's my sweet tofu bean.
I would
My
be
beanie, look at her. Such a softie right here.
Get over Bot becoming a cat guy.
I can't either. I never will. I'll never understand how it happened, Rico. I'll never understand it.
You let the cat kiss you on the mouth? Like you let it do
that?
Oh,
I kiss that cat right on the mouth. Right on the mouth. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Listen,
yep. Both
animal lovers and pet owners, please, folks, don't let the animal lick you and kiss you on the mouth.
No, let them do it. Kiss your dogs and cats, folks. Kiss your dogs and cats. You only have them for so long. Give them a kiss. Die, doc. Get out of here.
It's gross. Golly, they sit there and lick all that. Yeah, then you go see, come here, little Pookie. Get out of here with that nonsense.
I'm telling you, you only have them for so long. You got to enjoy them, baby.
You got to enjoy it. Kiss around the mouth.
Hey, so as we segue, speaking of sentimental value,
I think we'll segue to kissing on the mouth. I was like, where you going? Where you going?
Well, we could go down that avenue too, but I was thinking we could talk about the potential of the Buffalo Bills doing something, Rico, that I have been pounding the table for some time now. You know that I have wanted this more than anybody else, and that is the introduction of a potential throwback / alternate uniform and a alternate helmet. Your thoughts on the idea of the Bills finally doing what I have been begging for them to do ever since the league allowed this, and introducing the illustrious red helmet with those Jim Kelly era blues this season to send the Ralph off. Talk to me.
Well, it's funny that you bring this up because I brought it up last show, and we started going through still shots of certain uniform combinations. And there was one uniform combination that I fell in love with that I thought the Bills should do. But then there was a typical 90s red helmet uniform that came up. And although it had me pause for a minute and say, you know what? It actually looks nice. It's actually dope. I'm not so sold on this red helmet. I don't care for it. If it's there, cool. I'll rock with it. But I'm not like, please, the red helmets, please. Where's the red helmet? I'm not like that. I just can't do it.
No, see, I mean, I'm not like that either, really. Like, I could really care, because I just don't really care what it looks like at all. I wouldn't care at all if I had that red helmet. Listen, you're nuts. You're nuts. Give me that red helmet today. I've been waiting so damn long. All these other teams going nuts with the alternate uniform combinations, the different helmets. I'm obsessed with it. I often reference the SpongeBob meme where Squidward's looking out of his window and Patrick and SpongeBob are having the time of their life outside running around Bikini Bottom. That's how I feel in this situation. While all these different teams get all these new uniforms and new helmets, meanwhile, the Bills aren't touching it. I would love it. Here's what I think would be the coolest thing ever. You're sending off the Ralph. I know people hate this, but give me a game with the throwback all navy blues, the JP Lossman era. Give me a game with that. Give me a game with the 90s era. Give me a game. Give me a game with the old school OJ Simpson era with the white helmet with the standing buffalo and that. I mean, go nuts. Give me the Eras tour. Shout out Taylor Swift.
Because I'm about to go and find I'll go through it again. If I have to, I will.
You found like an example of all the different opportunities, all the different options.
Every last one of them.
Well, how cool would it be in the final year? You are literally doing, shout out Taylor Swift. You're doing the Eras tour. You're giving a little taste of the eras of the Buffalo Bills that have led up into the point where they now transition into their new stadium here. I would love it. Now, if that can't happen, which I think it probably wouldn't happen. It's kind of a tall ask. I get that. But I would just love the red helmet. I mean, is it really that hard? Is it really that hard to do? It's the same damn helmet. Really just switch.
That's the way I look at it.
Why do you got to suck the, what about this would not be appealing to you? Why?
I just don't see and you know what? Somebody made it very clear to me. Actually, I'll put it this way. Somebody made it, and then and it clicked to me. They're like, it's the nostalgia.
Of course it is.
It brings them back to the 90s. It brings them back to, when, life was good for that person, or it was just a good time. So I don't think it's more so about what it looks like per se, but what it brings them back to. And once I understood that part of it, then I was like, okay, I get it. Okay, I get it, and I'll let y'all rock with it. Now I'm trying to now. I don't know why I can't find it now, but it had every freaking era of jerseys, and now I can't find it. It's super annoying.
My whole take, I've said this before on here, but my whole take on the desire to see the, and you know what? Give me like the old, remember the old school white, and I can't even, is it even old school? I guess it is now, but do you remember like the Trent Edwards, Lossman days where it was the navy pants or the white pants with the white jersey, but then it had the navy shoulders? Do you remember that? The away jersey?
Yeah, I have a, yes. Oh, there we go. I found it.
So give me all of that. And I've said this before. The reason I want that, because people are like, no, don't give me those awful uniforms from the worst era of this team. My saying on that whole thing is, why don't we watch a good Bills team in that uniform, folks? Wouldn't it not hit like just the best thing ever to see a decent team in that damn uni combination? So there you go. Go back to the one a couple clicks ago. Was it OJ or the one? The other one. Here. The one before that. Yeah, so let's start with that, right? Like we'll start with that.
I like this one. I actually told folks if the Bills can go to something like this with the single stripe down the leg,
you
know what I mean, and the old school tape up the. I mean, listen, we can mess around with the socks or whatever, but this is a standing buffalo white helmet. I could deal with that. I could definitely deal with that. And then you were talking about. I actually like this combo this uniform combo.
Yep,
I'm a fan of that one.
I'd be down with that. They also have an all white version of that too.
Absolutely. So these ones I kind of like. They were sharp.
That is fire right there. That is gas right there.
So if you think that's gas, there was one that stood out to me, and I was like, "Ooh, I think was it this one? I don't think it was this one. I'll tell you which one it was. That was gas to me. I was like, okay, no, I can mess with that one. But these ones are bad uniforms. Not bad.
Look at
these ones are clean.
It's clean, bro.
I could absolutely mess with this one right here.
Yeah,
clean. You can see Josh in this one, 17, rocking
that.
Oh
hell yeah!
You absolutely freaking right. Greg Rousseau in this uniform, nasty, absolutely nasty. All six, 7 of them in that uniform combo, right? But this is what stood out to people.
I mean, hell yeah!
Listen,
dude. Throw the patches on there too, just for the hell of it. That would be so sick.
And you know what? You got the Newman gloves. You have to see. I don't know, Bot, if you are familiar with this, but the Newman gloves was what everyone. If you had Newman gloves, you had some money, you could get some gloves and stuff.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Newmans were the ish. Everyone wore Newman gloves. It was like if you had them, like, yo, where'd you get those Newmans? Right? That was the stuff. But I can see why people would like it. The uniform, you got the helmet. I don't really see anything too special with the helmet, but I understand the nostalgia that it brings back to everybody, right?
I would contribute to a GoFundMe to have that particular uniform that Thurman was just wearing.
Now, this is what stood out to me. I said, give me this.
The blue face mask. Oh, wow.
Give me this all day, and I'll be a happy man. You want a form of your red helmet? There's your form of the red helmet. Right?
What era was this? The 80s?
Somebody said it was 80, 81, 84-ish, I think they said.
Yeah.
Or 86. I can't remember. If anybody remembers what this is, let me know. Let me know. But this one right here, bro, you signed me up. You get your red helmet that everybody likes so much. I get my bottom uniform, bro. We're laughing. We're in.
We're giggling. We are giggling. I'm in. I'm
in. Absolutely in like Flynn. And then look at this. You can't tell me.
Come on.
You see Josh.
And they should come up with a patch to emblemize the final year of the Ralph. A patch.
Right there.
That they wear. That. Oh, bro,
that's a nasty uniform. I'm telling you. You guys get your red helmets. I get my blue unis, the white pants. I assume they're white socks to go with it. Bro, call it a day. Call it a day. Now, you were referring to wanting this jersey. I don't know which one it was. I mean, listen, when
it's
they
showed this, it's that. Yes. I mean, come on.
You can't. How do you hate on that? You can't.
That's the one I want.
With the red helmet.
That's the exact one that I want.
The uniform combo is nice. I mean, I think the Bills have one of the best uniforms in the game. One of the best.
I also think one of the coolest things about that era is the turf shoes. They're sick.
Oh yeah,
I love
those
them.
are nasty work. I mean, this is nasty. Look at that.
Yeah,
that's dope. I gotta give it to him. That's a dope uni, right? And then you wanted to talk about this.
Hell yeah. Look at my man Drew rocking. Now imagine Allen in that getup. It would change lives. It would change.
This is where you have people probably saying, yo, Bot, what's wrong with you?
I know they are, but what my rebuttal would be is it would avenge so many of us, including the 8-year-old version of me. I mean, the amount of torment. There's the one I was talking about too. Like the idea of seeing these Bills rocking that would be like the biggest mind F of all time.
Here's the thing. Anytime you look at this Bills uni, you knew that this wasn't a very good team.
You just knew exactly what I'm saying.
Players we loved. I mean, I remember T.O. being in this uniform.
Sure.
I remember the tight end that was it Everett being in this uniform. We had who's the tall 6'6" receiver we got? It's eluding me. Out of Indiana. I think it was James something. I forgot his name. But anyway, it just reminds me of that era. And I was like, ugh. I'm just like, it's all right. It's all right. I mean, listen, it tells history. Look at these. Look at these bad boys. We thought we were killing it.
I still have the Paris jersey. I have the T.O., the Derrick Henry, the Eric Molds. I have all of them, man. It would be so. I still have the Lossman.
The Lee Evans. I mean, this is that uniform. I mean, so there's your red helmets that you want so bad. There it is. Boom.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm all over it.
This combo right here, love it. Bring me back with that. Love that combo.
So there's plenty of options. Clearly, the opportunities are on the table. Will they cash them in?
They are absolutely on the table. So there's ways to get around it and make these things happen. So
go back to the Ralph Wilson patch. So go back to that. I'm thinking something similar, but for the stadium, and then you put it on each one of the jerseys. Yep. Man, that would be sick.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. So once you start going through these, and then you start getting into, you know what I mean, the stuff that's recent. Look, we have such clean uniforms, bro.
No, we do. I love our uniforms. Clean. I want to keep it rolling.
Now picture this in the red. I mean, I'll play with the game with you guys want to play. The red helmet, the 90s look. I get it. And
white
you put
pants.
Josh Allen in that. I can see why people would go nuts for it. I totally would.
Now I wonder if they'll ever test like a completely alternate one. Like, would they ever do like a black one?
Uniform. Give me a black uniform.
Yeah.
Give me a black uniform. I know some people that hate this. Look at this. My gosh.
The all red's a bit much. I loved when they did the red and white last year. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty slick. There was a year that I think we played the Jets and they had us in all red and they had the Jets in all.
The colorblind game.
We're hating it.
It was the colorblind game.
It was absolutely disastrous. I was like, yo, what is everybody thinking? What are we doing?
Walter, it was because of that they got rid of it.
Walt, I'm with you, man. I love the white helmet as well. I mean,
me too. It's clean.
One of the best uniforms in the game. Top 5 uniforms in the game.
Unarguably, no question about it.
No question about that. The Zubaz helmet. See, they're talking. See, now you got people talking now.
I'm in.
A Zubaz uniform alternate version.
And we're talking money. The merch sales would be nuts. We're talking money here. They're turning down cold hard cash.
I don't
know. From me personally.
I can't remember the last time I missed a Bills game. When's the last time you missed a Bills game? Do you remember?
Yeah, never.
I don't think I've ever deliberately missed a game where I couldn't do it. And if I missed it, I caught it on radio. And I think the one game that I couldn't visibly see it, I had to catch it because I was on my way back from the United States, and it was the Bengals Bills game where we were down a lot. Fitz magic and Stevie Johnson creeped us back to win the game. And I remember that game. And I was like, wow. But I remember I never saw it, but I remember kind of listening to it. I've missed a game in a long time. And I'll tell you right now, and the reason I bring this up is if they played this game and they all of a sudden brought the Zubaz out,
stop it.
I will listen to it on satellite radio.
You're such a liar.
I hate the Zubaz. Can't stand them. I see grown men wearing Zubaz overalls and leggings.
Why don't you just call me out? Because I own the overalls. They are fire.
I love them. I can't. You know, the only time that you should ever wear the Zubaz stuff is Halloween. That's it. That's it. Halloween, put it on. Go nuts.
Look, you and I are on the same page with most of this stuff, but the Zubaz are awesome.
My man says, shame on you, Rico.
Yeah, shame on you is right. Shame on you is damn right.
I ain't doing no Zubaz.
I will say though, the Zubaz uni would be a bit much. It would look like fake.
I'll say, call me when the game's over, fellas. Let me look at the box score. I'll be a box score watcher. Oh, there you go. I'm watching the football go back and forth. That's it. That's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, you're watching it on the ESPN, like the little dots going back and forth.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Give me the Nickelodeon one. I'll watch it off of that. But here's how I look at it, because I want to segue into our next topic, and that is Mr. Roger Goodell. And Mr. Goodell, I don't know how you feel about it. My man, Laura says, listen, the Zubaz, it's a legacy.
It is.
Stop it. But she agrees. She says no uniforms. Keep it for the.
I agree.
Keep it for the stands, but don't you dare mess with that uniform. Roger Goodell, how do you feel about ownership and these old folks? Actually, let me break it to you this way. If there's one rule you can change, I think we talked about this, but I'm not sure if we did. One rule you can absolutely just say, we're going to change these rules, or we're going to eliminate this rule. Is there something you would ever change with the NFL right now? I feel like we talked about this, but I'm not sure if it was you that spoke this to.
Well, one of them is coming to fruition. I wanted to get rid of the chain gang, and I wanted to introduce the camera technology on the first downs, and that is exactly what's happening. Once again,
I kind of like that one.
My buddy Brandon told me the other day, it was the best way to put it. Once again, the Bills are a day late and $1 short, but things get changed because of the Bills. The overtime rule changed, which is also now being implemented into the regular season, Rico.
That's
the
correct.
overtime change.
Yep.
And now, because of the controversy over the failed tush push, which is also a huge topic of debate right now. Caroline's favorite play, by the way, loves the tush push. You know, by the way, they might ban it, Caroline.
Atta girl.
Caroline says if they ban it, she's done. She's out.
That girl, Caroline. Stand with it.
But I wanted the cameras, Rico, and they're introducing the camera technology this year for the first downs, and I'm very excited.
The Bills is what pushed it over?
Oh, absolutely. Of course I do. I think if Josh Allen clearly, visibly either gets that first down or doesn't get that first down, I think eventually we were going to have a catalyst moment that was going to propel this forward. I just think that happened to be it. I think eventually we were going to get there. I don't know if we get there this year, if not for that moment.
Now, here's the funny thing, because some folks are saying, I'm sick and tired of rules being made because the Bills always find a way to fail to do something, and then they change the rule for the Bills. Overtime, the Bills. And now this whole tush push has resulted in now electronic. But we've been wanting electronic stuff for days. I hate people that make this excuse that it's because of the Bills this is happening.
It benefits everybody. It's the dumbest argument you can possibly make.
Absolutely. I don't want to hear it. I'm not for it. But I didn't want them to get rid of the chain gang, and I'm glad they didn't, because I think that's a staple. You need the chain gang. I don't care if they're 76 years of age.
Visually, right? You got to see them. You know what I mean? You got it. Yeah.
It just makes the game a lot better. I don't want it to go too electronic. Now, I bring up the rules and the tush push because how do you feel about Sean McDermott being against the tush push? I find that extremely odd.
I find it insanely interesting as well.
To me.
He's not only against it, he's very adamantly against it. There was a report that it got pretty heated, I guess, between him, the Eagles management, and Sean McVay or something like that. There was a heated conversation about it. I don't know why he is so against it. I really don't. I don't.
Walter's so stupid.
I think you want to know why I think he might be against it? Because McDermott is a defensive-minded coach, and I think he thinks that it's Bush League that these offensive linemen dive headfirst into defensive players' knees. I think that might be why he thinks that way. But on the same token, they run it the second best in the league to the originator of the play itself. So I don't know.
And he says, somebody brought it up. I don't know who it was, but he brought it up to the point where it's unsafe. I don't understand if you have two players, rugby players do it, and there's an actual sport/event where one guy has a rugby ball or football.
Yes.
He's about 25 yards away. Another defender is about 25 yards away, and they just at the same time go 25 yards, and they go, and whoever stays up wins. I can understand if someone's like, oh, it's barbaric. I don't want to. Your guys, you're an inch away from one another. An inch. It's power versus power. That's it. Let me see if you got the strength to, do it. And guess what? The Kansas City Chiefs found a way. Obviously, we were too predictive. We were too predictable, number one. Like we were just way too predictable. We
ran
didn't
to the
change
same
it.
side every time, and they ran it way
That's what
too
pissed
much.
me off. So had we been a little bit more multiple, they don't stop us. So McDermott, shut up, man. Just shut up and let your team take full advantage until they can beat it. And then your offensive coordinator can play off of that. That's how it should work. So don't ban the damn thing. Oh God, like McDermott, just be quiet already. I didn't understand that. It actually annoyed me.
The one thing I don't like about the play is it does not feel like a football play. You just mentioned the rugby situation. It's the one play that just doesn't feel very football-esque, but at the same time,
that is the epitome of football play.
You think so?
Game
I don't
of
think
inches. So. Absolutely. It's a game of inches.
It's just optically, it's not good.
Okay,
and
well, I think tell me why McDermott.
Well, I think McDermott's whole case is the safety concern. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. I think it's because the entire front
like
line.
McDermott's little brother. You're powwowing for it's unsafe. Tell me why, McDermott.
Because I think the entire front line, the goal of the play is essentially to basically take your whole body weight and put it on top of the guy in front of you or collapse into their knees. I think that's the overarching thing here. I think if there wasn't a safety concern surrounding it, we wouldn't even be having the conversation.
Well, then shut the whole game down then. Shut the whole game down.
And that's the counterpoint.
Abolish the NFL, abolish football. If you want a bunch of pansies worried about getting hurt, we've already shaved off so much stupid rules in this game where DBs, now you touch the receivers a freaking flag. Bro, shut it the whole, touch football, everyone. Take your flags, put your little belt on, put your little flags on, and call it a day. F the lineman, get him out of here, shut the whole thing down. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
My argument against it, I guess, against that whole, my argument against not getting rid of it, the Wildcat doesn't really feel all that football-y either, like snapping the ball to the running back, but you're not going to abolish that. I personally don't think that they should get rid of it because, in my opinion, if it's a play that you can't stop, it shouldn't be gotten rid of just because only certain teams can run it and most teams can't stop it. The other thing is, too, here's what I think will happen. I don't know if it'll get banned. I think the second somebody does get hurt on that play, though, mainly maybe somebody of prominence, like say a TJ Watt or a Myles Garrett gets significantly hurt on that play, it will get banned the following year. So I do think that if it doesn't get banned this year, it's almost like, you know how we were just talking about how the Bills failed attempt on the first down there in the AFC Championship game perhaps led to an accelerated implementation of the cameras for the first down. I think that a injury on that play would immediately accelerate the banning of that play. That's how I see it.
See, this is why I think it's the stupidest thing, because the only thing that people are annoyed is the push from the running backs. The running backs don't even push the actual Josh Allen. They actually push the lineman to get into it. It's no different than a fullback dive or wishbone where everybody just crashes. Or what's the difference? You know what I mean? Fullback is probably running into another lineman to push. I can't stop it.
That's the other thing, too. It really isn't all that different from a standard quarterback sneak. And for the most part, on Josh Allen's tush pushes, it's not like Jalen Hurts where he's going into the little crevice. Allen is way too big to do that. The majority of the movement is generated by Allen himself, and then you kind of get the extra.
You have to have the personnel.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Okay, do the same tush push, but now use Kyle Orton. Right. You think Kyle Orton's going to get anywhere in that tush push?
No.
Heck no. You have to have a skillful player to do it. You do.
And that's why you don't see every team run it.
Because they can't. They don't have the personnel. So guess what? Get in the draft and do it.
I agree.
Get the big boys, get the Hoggies.
I personally, if I had a vote, I would vote to keep it. Personally,
I'm keeping that. That's why they tabled it. They're like, "Yo, McDermott, shut up, man."
It does seem like those who are in favor of it are very in favor of it, and those who aren't are very against it. There's no there's very little middle ground. It seems people are very adamant on being one side or the other on this.
Well, they can go kick rocks. That's the way I look at it.
Here's one rule change I'm interested to get your thoughts on. This is more significant than I think people realize. So obviously last year we had the newly introduced kickoff, right? Where the new kickoff pretty much changed the play as we know it, where instead of having the kickoff crew lined up with the kicker itself, and then everybody runs down simultaneously in full force. We obviously know though that now that both kickoff units do not move until the ball is touched. That would result, a touchback on that play would result with the ball going to the 30-yard line this past year. As we know, forever, it was the 20. Then it got changed to the 25. And then last year with the new kickoff rule, it got changed to the 30. It is now being changed to the 35-yard line. A touchback in 2025 and beyond will now result in the ball being moved to the 35-yard line, which means in this current day and age, the majority of teams need to gain about 20 yards to get a legitimate kickoff or get a legitimate field goal attempt off. What are your thoughts on the ball?
Hold on. I was under the impression, maybe I misinterpreted or misread it. So last year, you kicked it into the end zone or touchback. You got moved to the 35, to the 30.
Yes.
This year, they're moving it up to the 35.
Correct.
So what I gained from that is they at least want an actual return.
Correct.
They
This is what I'm asking you.
Okay.
What do you think the result of this is? Because I think most teams aren't going to just boot it out of the back of the end zone anymore. Because starting at the 30, giving Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar the ball at the 35 every drive is insane. So you're going to kick it to like the 5-yard line now.
You're gonna
what are your thoughts?
Gonna get a return,
right?
Because now you're like, yo, what's the point of doing this whole thing, man? You guys are messing this thing up. I know you tried it. It's cool, it's cute, but like these guys are getting the ball at 35. Like, fam, like let's get a return here. Let's get some return for my investment that I just paid this return guy to do what he's supposed to do. So like, what's the point? So now we're gonna have some return. So now I wonder if they're gonna be worried about injuries and so on and so forth. But I mean, they've avoided injuries because of the whole nobody can move until everything's done. So nothing changes. It's just that now you're not gonna reward a Josh Allen, like you said, or reward a Joe Burrow up to the 35-yard line. And if now you're gonna see special teams coaches ripping into kickers. Hey, on the 5. Shit, coach, I tried. Nah, man, I need you to be accurate, pinpoint accurate.
Yes.
And if you can't do it, I'll find someone that can. Golly. So
my guess is the return rate goes up dramatically.
100%.
Like you're going to see more returns than touchbacks, I would imagine. Because the idea of getting the ball at the 35 is wild. It really is. That's a 15-yard increase from just a few years ago.
No, that's wild, man. You put a team, an explosive team,
yes,
an offense on that.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like not every team benefits from that. I mean, if you have a mediocre offense, who cares? But if you have, like I just mentioned, if you're the Bills, if you're the Chiefs, if you're the Ravens, like you're pretty much you're kind of screwed unless you get a 3 and out. I mean, how you're going to be able to get at least a field goal attempt off. And so I'm imagining that the strategy going into this season will be what, like you just said, hey, you know, T-Bass and the rest of these NFL kickers, get ready to pin that ball on the 5-yard line and demand a return from these teams because if not, 35 is the outcome.
I'm trying to see how many touchbacks the Bills kicked last year. Touchbacks during the 24th season, however. Since when? I thought ChatGPT was supposed to be the end-all be-all, huh? You guys are messing up, ChatGPT. Messing up. Let me see if I can try to find that.
While you're finding that, Tebow coming in, he's giving his thoughts on the tush push. He's saying, we had that same play in high school. He said they had a wedge and a fullback would run up the middle. Nobody ever got hurt, especially the quarterback. If it's not the QB, who gives a damn? Tebow pretty much is telling us he was on the OG tush push squad. And look, I think we're kind of in the same boat. I don't know how much different it is than the standard QB sneak. So, and I will say, even if it is banned, like the Bills still have one of the best QB sneak solutions in the game. So even if this gets ruled out, I mean, the Bills, I don't know how much they'll be affected by it, but I totally get what you're saying, Tebow. I think, once again, like I said, if I had a vote and Rico said the same, if we had votes, we're keeping it in the game.
Yeah, 100%. Keep that in the game. I will say this, though. Not many quarterbacks are built at 6'5", 240, and that can run like Allen. Allen is a freaking cheat code, bro.
It's a good thing to have.
He's a cheat code, bro. Like, how do you stop that? That's a lot. That's a lot of beef coming your way, bro. That's a lot of beef coming your way. So have fun with that. Have fun with that. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But some of the rules that stood out to me, I know the one rule that got rejected was the 5-yard. And that was an interesting rule, to be honest with you, where I think it was the Lions that proposed penalize me for a defensive hold, fine, but don't give them an automatic first down.
Yes.
Penalize me on the yardage, but don't give them an automatic first down. The league was like, F y'all. That rule stays.
No, I was so in favor of that rule being passed. I've been on record a million times saying that the defensive penalties are far too punitive. It is so hard to play defense these days. I never understood how an offensive holding is just a 10-yard penalty while a defensive holding is a 10-yard penalty and an automatic first down. If it's 3rd and 15 and you get a defensive holding, it's a first down. I think it's ridiculous. I don't know why they were so quick to shoot that down. No, I agree. That was one that I would have loved to have seen implemented because I think it would have really evened the playing ground a bit.
No question about that. Well, here's another one for me. Hold on. I agree. Automatic first down thing needed to go, but we know it wasn't going to. Yeah, it was tough for them to do that. That you're going to need a little bit more, or you have to tweak it or find a way to kind of even the playing field out a little bit. Hold on. I got Big Papa says NFL wanting to ban the tush push because stupid Chris Jones trying to stop it with his neck. I don't know if that was the case there, but it is what it is.
I just think a lot of the people beyond the safety concern, I just think a lot of the guys don't love how it looks. I think that's the other thing too, because that was the other beyond just the safety, because you can almost parlay this back, or you can almost relate this back to the kickoff, where one, they wanted to, of course, get rid of the injuries because it was the most dangerous play, but two, it was an irrelevant play.
Facts.
Right? The kickoff was irrelevant. There was never any returns. So what they wanted to do was kind of kill two birds with one stone. They wanted to get rid of the injuries while also making the play relevant again. I think with the tush push, I think some people think it's too automatic. And I also think they think it doesn't look good and there's injuries involved. So that's kind of why they look at it that way. But I don't know. One last one, Rico, that was interesting.
Yep.
Before we wrap up, one last one was that the replay ability to look at flags thrown on the field has been tweaked a bit. You can now have replay review take a peek at flags thrown, and there is now an ability to pick the flag up. But what I found to be interesting about this particular rule change is that it's only for flags thrown. It's not for non-calls. Do you remember what sparked this whole debate? And you and I spent like 2 hours on this one night. Do you remember the no call on the Sam Darnold face mask early in the regular season last year on their final drive? There was a no call. It was brutal, and they didn't call it, and everyone in the world knew it. So that's what's interesting about this to me. If a flag is thrown and they go to the replay review and it's clearly not a flag, they can pick it up, but they can't go to a replay and rethrow a flag that hasn't been thrown. So it is a step forward, but I would have liked to have seen the ability to re-implement a flag on a play where it was probably needed.
See that then it's too much to stoppage in the game, because the game stops a lot in the first place.
Yeah.
So you start doing that, the game stops too much. Now you're looking at a 4-hour game because I was egregious to make that call. It's tough. I like it. Throw a flag. Now I have an ability to actually have the evidence to kind of look through that. But I mean, listen, man, that's why the committee is there to look at things that make sense and don't make sense, and hopefully the game gets better. But I just hope they don't make it too ridiculous. That's the way I look at it.
Agreed. And by the way, if you're wondering about the tush push and what the deal with that is, they did table the voting, like you said, Rico. We will find out whether or not that rule or what that play will be legal or not next month. They're going to revote on it next month, so we will know before the season. But that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye out on, because it's become kind of a staple in today's game. People talk about it all the time. We see it all the time. So keep an eye out for that. But with that said, 2.5 in the books, Rico, on a Friday night. We are 3 weeks away from the draft. Let the folks know again what we have in store for draft weekend, because we can't wait.
Listen up. Draft weekend, you guys already know what time it is. It's going to be a huge weekend. So we're going to have Thursday, first round in the books. It's going to be my man, myself, Z-Bot. We're going to definitely try to get my man Kevin in the building.
Oh, hell
Kevin
yeah.
will definitely be part of it. We're going to get him in there. Who else are we going to have in that?
Is Don joining us as he usually does?
We're going to try to get our man Don Trotman. That's my guy, Don. And hopefully we can get Rev, if he can do the whole trip with us. We want some familiar faces in there. If we can get some new faces, we will. Post-podium podcast. They joined us, I think, on day 3. So I'm going to try to talk with those boys to kind of give another element. We want to kind of collab with some guys to come on to the show. It should be fun. Day 2, I think day 1, Pierre is going to be with us as well. I'm trying to get my man Bobby to jump in there with us on some analysis.
You're trying.
Join us. I know I'm trying. Join us. It's going to be fun. We get to have a conversation, and it's going to be fun. I have one question for you, Bob, before we get out of here. Sure. I had a funny segment. I got to go back and clip it and put it in my thing. You know, there's always one team that screws up the draft. Last year, some folks might say it was Atlanta. Yes. Then grabbing Penix. Who's going to be the team that screws up? Is it the Giants? My thoughts were the Giants.
It could be the Giants because, we'll have to see. It could be Cleveland, depending on what. It could be Cleveland, depending on what their whole mindset is going into the draft. I mean, are they going to go quarterback or not? And then it would fall to the Giants with the same boat. I'm wondering, it's all going to depend on who takes Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion. That could really throw it off. That could really throw a loop in the whole draft. Could he go in the top 5? And if he doesn't, could he slip all the way down the draft board? That's what I think could really throw a wrench into things.
This is why, quickly, because I know we're wrapping up, but this is why I want to share this with you, right? So, and I tried to figure it out. Tennessee, Shedeur is not going there. It's probably going to be Cam
Ward.
Shedeur is not going to Cleveland. Maybe he does. Apparently, Dion went and talked to Cleveland. But Cleveland, how are you going to give up on Abdul Carter? So that could be where Shedeur goes. If Shedeur doesn't go here, he goes to the Giants. If the Giants don't take Shedeur,
then where does he go?
Shedeur falls.
Yes.
No Patriots, no Jags, no Raiders. Geno Smith just got signed. Yep. 3-year deal. They're committed to him.
No Jets,
no Jets.
Maybe Jets.
I doubt it. But
I don't see it either, but maybe.
Aaron Glenn is the coach out there. They just got Justin Fields. I can't see them doing it. Panthers, Bryce Young. Saints.
No, from this patch on, it's a run of like no chance.
No chance. So maybe here, maybe San Fran.
That would be interesting.
Get with Purdy. But this is where it gets interesting. No, maybe. No.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes, that's where he goes if he falls that far, right there.
And if the Steelers are really in on Shedeur, they'll have to trade up to make sure that
I don't think they will. Now that the Colts stand out to me too. That gets interesting.
That is what interesting. And
do they have the stones to immediately move off of Anthony Richardson this soon, though? That's the question.
Buddy. Anyways, I wanted to just drop that on you. Anyway, listen, folks. Draft is around the corner. Join us. My man Z-Bot is back in the studio. The studio may not be the same, but he's getting there. We'll get some posters up, I'm sure, of whoever.
We'll work our way there. Before we round out, one last super chat. Tebow coming back in. He's saying Z-Bot Rico, best running back of all time. CJ2K, a.k.a. Chris Johnson, made his push as the only running back to make 2,500 yards. Those are all-purpose yards. Yep. You can wait till the end, but I'd like to see your answer. I agree with him. Chris Johnson was incredible. I think the best I've seen in my lifetime, probably Adrian Peterson.
Best RB of all time, CJ2K. What? Are you nuts? Adrian
Peterson's probably the best I've seen in my lifetime.
Then you guys haven't seen Barry Sanders.
I wasn't around for Big Barry.
You haven't seen Barry Sanders.
I'll tell you, my favorite running back ever to watch was Jerome Bettis, for sure.
You haven't seen Clinton Portis. You know what I mean? You haven't seen Travis Henry. Those boys weren't.
I saw Travis Henry. Travis Henry wasn't Adrian Peterson. I love Travis.
Funny. I don't know how young Mr. Tebow is, but fam, you're not gonna tell me CJ2K one of the best. He had a great season. That boy could start and stop and go at the same time. But nah, you ain't going.
He was an all-time great. I wouldn't say the best, but he was great.
Adrian Peterson, a dog. You feel me? Don't play with me. Anyway,
dog. All right. Well, hey, like you said, Rico, 2.5 in the books on a Friday night. So great to be back with you guys. Really appreciate you tuning in on a Friday. I'll be back with you next week. Regular scheduled programming. It's so good to be back. Even though the studio is different, like Rico said, same bot. And looking forward to spending the rest of the draft month with you up until that draft. 3 weeks away. It's one of the best streams of the whole year. We can't wait for it. But in the meantime, thanks again for tuning in tonight. On your way out the door, like button if you could, subscribe button if you could, and we'll talk soon. Much love as always, and go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.